Hey y'all, I'm Ada K. And I must confess, I'm a trial junkie. I enjoy viewing trials as if I was the seated juror. So grab a cup of java, get comfy, and join me as we hop into court. And don't forget to comment, like, and most importantly, subscribe. And if you're really enjoying the channel, please join our membership. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to Sunday Night Live. I want to thank my early bird, 80 Music Man. Hi, Melissa. Can't wait for you today. Dawn LM. Hello, Haley Mouse and Christine. Oh my gosh. And Kathleen. Welcome to all of you. Actually pushed the wrong button there. We've got a special guest tonight. I'm so excited. We've been chatting and I'm getting to know her and I'm realizing, oh my gosh, I got a new friend. We got a lot in common. I'm so excited. I have to admit, I'm very tired. I am on a pain scale of 1 to 10, about an 8. I drove 3.5 hours close to Houston, Texas. If you know anything about Schulenburg, Texas, I was there for meet some family, had a little quick Christmas, and drove another 3.5 hours home. I've only been back in town for about 45 minutes. So I am ready for you guys tonight. I couldn't wait to get on. But, of course, I had to stop somewhere. Does anybody know what these little things are inside my glass? Do you know what those are? If you've been to a place that has a beaver as its logo, you know what these are. Let's see if anybody can guess what those are. But tonight we are going to talk about some more Sarah Boone behavioral notes. And we also have some interesting topic that we're going to talk with our guests. No wonder I'm in pain. Yeah. Beaver nuggets. You got it, Karate Cut Mom. Anybody know what a beaver nugget is? Caramely, popcorny, sweet. Ooh. I need some milk with that. Yes, I went to Buc-ee's. Really, it's the only place to stop in that area to go to the bathroom without fear of your life. So, yeah. Addictive Karate Cut Mom. Hi, Journey to Justice. Hi, Ronnie. Haven't seen you in a while, but I know you've been busy. Welcome. Okay, guys, we have a guest. She is a Texas lawyer on hiatus, so don't call and ask for her to represent you because she's not taking anybody right now. And y'all know her as KB. Let me get her on the stage. And everybody, welcome Miss KB. Oh my gosh. I got your sound. And there she is. Welcome, Miss KB.
Hi, how's everybody doing?
Y'all, we've got so much to talk about. And the more I talk to her, the more I want to get to know. Man, she's got some inside stuff on a case that's nobody talking about. It's an older case. We're going to do the Boone stuff first.
Yeah.
Because I want to get more people on. And then we're going to talk about your case because unfortunately, it's becoming more and more prevalent in our society. Well, the events are not more prevalent, but it's becoming more known to us and getting more in the court systems in our society.
Yeah.
We're seeing more of it. And unfortunately, I think the wrong persons are getting convicted.
Well, in my case, no. They got the right people.
The victims are being more convicted than the perpetrators in some of these cases.
And so, yes, in some cases, but in my particular, not my case, but this case that I worked on, they did get the right people.
They got the right person. Yeah.
My issue is how they went about it. And I mean, It's really a super long story to tell, and maybe it's probably best if we break it up into parts.
We may do
Um,
that.
So I mean that's just what I'm telling you, because tomorrow I have to leave. I'm flying out to visit family for Christmas, so I need to get to bed early. But
Yes.
and I can talk. I will talk your ear off about this case. But my issue is with that case is not that they got the right people and threw them in jail. No, yay, that's what we want you to do. Um, it's the people that were harmed, people who had done nothing wrong, and the children involved, their children, the harm to them, that I still have issue with today.
Yeah. And the bad thing is that we still have not gotten where we should be when it comes to helping the victims. Victims
No.
advocacy is nowhere near it should be.
Mm-mm.
Yep. So, but before we get on to that, I think I need to move things around on my screen for a split second because we have Sarah Boone notes. Now, I will preface all of this in telling you that I can't show you the screen because somebody else's picture is on that screen and I can't share that. But we're going to read her notes, and they're starting in November through December. And I would love some of your opinions if you have any, my dear.
Okay. Yeah. I was out of the country during October, so I really didn't catch much of her trial. Maybe looking at some like chopped up streams here and there just to see, basically get the gist of what was going on. But I didn't. That's not a case I watched like other
religiously.
Cases. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
not one I woke up early to catch the streams for, shall we say?
Hey, well, while you're flying, you can always go back and watch some of my lives.
That's true.
Or somebody else's. I'm going to say
someone
mine
else's
just because it's me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be looking off on this screen to read. Okay, guys. Okay. So let's dive in. So, and you know what? I don't care if people don't like it. This is my live tonight. And I am going to do the voice change when necessary. We like to.
But Your Honor, I'm sorry. I forgive you for being a jerk. And forgive you for throwing me into jail.
I'm sorry, not. Okay, on November 15th of 2024, the correctional officer notes. Correctional officer, I made an announcement to B-Dorm for all life skill program inmates to come down to the officer's desk and to see me for their homework packets. I noticed that inmate Boone, whom is not currently enrolled in the life skill program, trying to skip the line to put in an inmate request verbally. I directed inmate Boone to put in an inmate request from the proper way via electronic request or paper inmate request form. She got mad and stormed off to her bunk. Officer Blank witnessed inmate Boone's behavior. I also informed the sergeant on duty and advised all inmates to fill out the inmate request forms properly in order to be in the program. Verbal warning. Inmate refused breakfast. Now, the 26th of November, I advised all inmates that B-Dorm would be on lockdown per Sergeant Blank's orders. While conducting showers by bunk number, inmate Boone approached the desk and stated in a demanding tone,
I would like to why we are locked down. I think they missed a word I said. It should read, I'd like to know why we are locked down.
I told inmate Boone that the dorm is on lockdown and returned to her bed. Inmate Boone, again in a demanding voice,
I want to know why we are on lockdown.
I gave inmate Boone a direct order to return to her bed. She did not comply. I gave her a second verbal order to report to her bed and to lower her tone. She complied. A few seconds later, I observed inmate Boone at the kiosk. I gave her another verbal order to return to her bed, and she stated,
I'm checking the time. And
walked to her bed. I gave inmate Boone a direct order, and she continues to get off her bed and speak in a demanding tone. Further disciplinary actions will be taken. So what do you think about them apples?
I
Yeah.
don't know with this woman. I really don't. I really don't. She's definitely neurodivergent.
Yeah.
Always wanting to know why. Like I can see that part. Okay. So tell her why. Even if the answer is because I said so, you know. But I've also noticed that she just doesn't care what other people, like people in authority, say, and she's going to do whatever she wants. That's
the why is because you're a biatch, and I said get your little butt into bed.
I don't think they can tell her that.
No, but I can.
Yeah. Yeah, she's I feel for the people who have to deal with her on a daily basis, because I'm sure she is not very pleasant.
No. Inmate Boone is receiving a negative for continuing arguing with inmate blank in bunk area. After being asked to cease the noise, inmate Boone continued threatening inmate blank. All inmates were given dorm expectations at the beginning of the shift. Inmates are informed that if they could not follow the directions, they would face discipline. It should be noted that other inmates have informed me that inmate Boone and her friends are trying to get inmate blank in trouble on purpose so she can be moved. Inmate Boone has the opportunity to move to a different bunk, but she has refused. Inmate Boone was counseled about the issue. Oh, Miss Boone. Boom.
Well, at this point, I would be worried about the other inmate that they're trying to cause problems for. I would be worried about her safety and maybe getting her away from these people. Yeah. I mean, that's what should be happening. So.
Well, here's the problem with inmate Boone. She's there for life. She's nothing to lose.
Is she in county, or did they already transfer her to?
No, this is county here.
Okay.
I don't know if they
she's not going to be their
yet.
problem. She's not going to be their problem much longer, probably. But
no.
I would be more worried about this inmate who's being targeted.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know who she is. I don't know what she's in for. She could be, a horrible person, but that doesn't mean they should allow her to be targeted for bullying and abuse like that.
No, I agree. And I don't think they do enough, honestly, in a lot of jails for that. During the first half of cell inspection, inmate Boone became argumentative with staff. That's surprising. Not. It is explained to her that we were staffing limitations affecting day room time. Despite multiple orders to stop, she continued to disrupt the dorm by yelling at our staff. She was counseled about her behavior and informed that it would not be tolerated. As a result, she got another negative. That was 12-5. OMG, girlfriend, what are you doing? Okay, she's refusing her breakfast tray. Oh, on 12-6, Miss Sarah Boone was relocated to cell block K12 due to inmates complaining not about complaining about not getting her right due to the inmates complaining about not getting her right for 1 hour out of cell during the night shift. By Corporal Blank had approved. Refusal of breakfast tray, verbal refusal of tray. And again, okay, so she's been relocated. Also, we have visitor information. Raymond Gomez, clergy, is visiting her. Remember that clergy guy that you may not have watched that?
Mm-mm.
There was a clergy that walked in and was all like, "Oh, she's so fabulous and she's such a good girl." And I'm all like, yeah. A Danielle Parsons, a friend, has been visiting her. Raymond, she's getting a lot of clergy visits and a lot of phone calls. But the interesting thing, I'll have to go back. Oh, we got her list of commissary. Got her commissary list. Baby lotions, 9 Three Musketeers, 9 Butterfingers, 3 10-pack sugar substitutes. Repetitive. Oh, she did get 7 manila envelopes. That's all she's get cinnamon honey buns. She did get that. So
I'm not going to begrudge somebody in prison visitors, and I'm not going to begrudge them their commissary list.
no, but I find it interesting because what they found in her cell that was contraband and all the stuff that she had in excess.
Yeah.
None of it's listed on her commissary.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we can't begrudge them that, but
no, I mean, life in prison is hard enough for people, even hardened criminals. I just, people, if someone wants to make a scandal over the commissary lists, I'm like, dude, let them have their candy bar. They don't have anything else.
Well, it's not about the candy bar.
But it's about what the other stuff that she is doing, they need to do something about. The contraband that they found and so forth. How is it getting in? Who's bringing
what
it?
it is what I'm changing this because it's bothering me. Okay. What it is that the stuff that was found, the cheese, there was crackers, there was other ramen and other food that has not been showing up on her commissary. And you are not allowed to swap food, trade food, barter food. Technically, you're not allowed to do that. And she said that she's allergic to soy, hence why she was trying to get a special dietary. What is in all that food that she just had?
Soy
byproduct.
Soy's in a lot of stuff. It really is.
And so it's not that I'm begrudging her commissary. It's giving me a picture of what she is actually ordering and what she has claimed in the past and what they have found in her room. To me, it looks like she's found herself a little gig to make money. And she's either owing or buying for people. I don't know. But it just shows that she's assimilating into that process well, because everyone has to have a side gig, they say, in jail. My ex-husband, who is in prison, I mean, everybody, I was told many times that everybody has something they do. Some are artists, some are poets, and they trade for things. But I just find it interesting that what they had in her cells and what was reported as contraband versus what she's ordering. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Well, that was conduct after her conviction. That was November, December. We will hopefully get full notes. She says she refuses breakfast because she's on a special diet. No soy. Just saying. All right. So that's the latest on Miss Sarah Boone. So yay. We got that out of the way. Somebody had made a comment about her possibly being transferred to her new unit
Mhm.
She is not listed on the transfer into that prison. What was it, Lowell or something like that? I Googled and she has not been transferred as of yesterday. Oh, okay. But see, Dawn, she's wishy-washy. 1 minute she can't have it, the next minute she can. 1 minute I don't want it, the next minute I do. So that's why everybody's on the soy boat with her. It's just her manipulation and control. So, would you like to introduce the case? Can you give us the case, the
Oh, sure.
background of the case? Mind some specific words for YouTube if you know what they are.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, I think
So-
once I mention the case, everybody's going to know what it's about.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't have to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Worst case, I don't get my 5 cents for this stream.
well, I hope I don't lead to
Don't worry
that.
about it.
So, and I do think that given the nature of this case and the length of time that I have to be on tonight, probably would just be better to give like a background.
Sure.
And then later we can go into the details because, like I said, every single day, almost every hour, there is something to talk about for a long time.
No, I
Yes.
have no problem with this. And in
Okay.
fact, being this time of year, if I can find some of this, if this was this live on TV or this was a
No, this
federal or
was
state?
internet. Well, we had the internet back then, but no cameras in the courtroom.
Hi,
There
Dr.
certainly
B.
were cameras outside the courthouse. And we got chased down the street quite a bit. CNN especially liked to chase us because we had our clients with us. But anyway, back in, I'm trying to think. It was around Easter of 2008 in April.
Now I know why I wasn't following this as closely as I would have because that was
Yeah.
in the middle of my ex's stuff.
Yeah. Gosh, Tom Green County, I think it's Tom Green County. The sheriff of that county, where El Dorado is, purportedly received what they announced to the media first. They received one phone call, supposedly from the YFZ Ranch, which is short for Yearning for Zion, where the FLDS had bought up property, and they were establishing a little community in that county. They reportedly received a phone call from a woman. I'm sorry, that's my cat, and he screams, "Harry, hush." Anyway, a young girl claiming she was 17 years old, and she was being abused, and she had been forced to marry this guy, and they had in the first phone call, it had that she only had one child, and he had two other wives. And so the state of Texas, the county sheriff, DPS, Child Protective Services used that as an excuse to get onto the ranch to find this girl. And that whole thing led to them removing all of the children who were there, from the age of 17 all the way down to babies, and the mothers that went with them. So it was about 400 and something children and about 100 wives, 100 women, I think.
That many?
That many.
I didn't realize it was that much.
Yeah. Well, they were surprised too. They didn't realize how many people were living on the ranch at the time. And so the state, in its infinite wisdom, decided they were going to file individual cases, child abuse cases, on with just each child, not by family group, but by child. So that meant they suddenly had to find over 400 guardian ad litems or attorneys ad litem for all of these kids.
Not by family, but by person.
No, I'll get into that.
Holy crap. Texas is big, but that's a big tall order.
They, in my opinion, they had a story and they were going to stick to it no matter what the facts showed. That I'm going to say about that. Now, in the end, I want to make it very clear. In the end, the right people were convicted. The right people were put in jail. All right. My issue is how they went about it, because they used, if you watch some of the documentaries, you see the DPS troopers claiming they wanted to prevent another Waco. Well, everything they did would have, I mean, if this group had been as violent as they were claiming the group was, they would have had another Waco. But these people were not. Anyway, they removed all these children. The mothers went with the children. The men had actually told the state, hey, if you say we are the problem, we will leave. We'll leave, we'll go somewhere, and we won't come back. We won't have any contact until you tell us it's okay. Just leave the women and children here. But the state said no. So they went and they put them in Fort Concho. They also put them in, I'm not exactly sure. It was like the county fairgrounds where they had just had an FFA show the week before or something like that. Because that's where
they were sheltering them like you would an emergency evacuation of a hurricane that you had no other place to go but
even worse.
Even worse. Yeah.
Like the places they got to these places, my clients told me these places were filthy. They had dust, like thick dust. So they had to clean everything. They had to clean all the toilets. They had to clean all the showers. And of course, the kids started getting sick.
Rodeo grounds. It's nasty.
Well, yeah, especially since they just had a show and they hadn't cleaned out they had us meet our clients in the show barn. They still had all the hay, like all the hay from the animals and all the chemicals and, mixed in
by
there.
Dr. Bullbutter.
They had that's where we met our clients. So the call went out, we need 500 attorneys. And so they got volunteers from all over the state of Texas. And then it was like, oh, but since we're asking for termination, we also need attorneys for the parents. Now, some of the parents, if the families were close to Warren Jeffs, he paid for those attorneys for them. But the vast majority of people, or vast majority of women, didn't have any money. And they were basically told, well, you need to go find your own attorney. So that's where legal aid was called. All of the legal aids in Texas were called and said, hey, can you come in and help and represent?
And we don't have that many legal aids in Texas.
Well, we have enough legal aid attorneys. And so it was Legal Aid of Northwest Texas and Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid, which is the organization that I worked for. We went in and we figured out how many women needed representation, and then we divided them all up equally. Like I ended up after all was said and done, I ended up with 2 clients. Most people had 4. So we divide, and if you're representing parents, you can easily handle 4 cases. So that wasn't a big thing, but it was just the number of attorneys that they called for. And I think, they were trying to make this anyway. But if the state had actually sat down and thought it out and done things differently, it wouldn't have ended up as the huge crisis that it was, because by state law, when you remove children from their parents, you have to have a hearing within 14 days.
Mm-hmm.
And that hearing lasted 2 full days. Like both times we didn't get out until like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And then once we were done at night, we would have to go and talk to our clients again, see what, more information that they had forthcoming. And of course, at the end of it, the judge ordered the children to be removed. She did not allow parents to put up their own defenses. She did not allow for every parent to have, or each family group to have their own separate hearing, which is what the law allows. The law says you have different families involved. Every family gets their own hearing, their own case. You look at the facts of their particular case. You don't judge everybody as a group. And so at the end of all of this, the children were ordered removed, and that was a really hard thing to have to explain to my clients, because they weren't really familiar with the legal system. They already didn't trust anybody on the outside. They didn't trust us. Yes.
Christine's asking, what is the name of this case?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the FLDS case out of San Angelo, Texas. Warren Jeffs, the fundamentalist Latter-day Saints. The polygamists, they're a group out of Arizona, Utah, and he bought a ranch in Texas, in Tom Green County, outside of El Dorado. So
Now,
I'm sorry, I've been yammering around.
Yeah. Now, understand, one reason I was interested in this is we're getting more and more cases from similar lifestyles. And I thought this would be a good thing for us to really start understanding and learning and getting more the legal along in the family law side along with what's happened, because we had a recent case where a young girl was groomed by a man who had multiple wives, abused her, held her, or pretty much, mind games and everything else. And she unalived her child and tried to unalive herself because she didn't think that there was any other way for her to get away.
Yeah. Well, that's one of my issues with how the state handled this case, because up to this point, this was 2008. I'd been working with legal aid since 97 or 98, doing primarily domestic violence, abuse cases, name the abuse. I handled that case. And one of the things you want victims to feel is you want them to feel safe. If they go to the police, they go to a doctor, they go to an attorney, they go to a sheriff,
school,
or DPS, or anybody, that they feel safe. And everything that the state did in this case did nothing but reinforce all of the brainwashing that the FLDS had gone through. And oh my God, it was a lot. It took a lot for them to trust us just to handle their case. And I'm sure there was a lot of things they didn't tell us because we're outsiders. They're not going to trust us. Well, and I honestly can't blame them for that based on what happened.
Well, one thing about that is like this young woman who's now 22 serving life in prison because she unalived her child and tried to unalive herself.
Yeah.
Didn't want her child growing up in that. It was so bad that they were making them drink their own urine.
Oh,
and yeah. And the thing for me is the guy, the father and husband, didn't show up at trial, but he showed up at the sentencing and got up there and did a impact statement. And he's brought up on no charges when she didn't have medical care. There was a lot of stuff that went on. And he's got other women. He had his first wife escaped. She was the second. Now he's got 2 more, one pregnant with a baby due anytime, and he's looking for more girls.
Hmm. Well, remember the Andrea Yates case? I mean, it was a
Oh, I know her
horrible, horrible
personal.
case.
I know her personally. I
Horrible,
worked at the
horrible
state
case.
hospital with her.
Yeah, that those poor kids. But her husband, in the state of Texas, there's a law called murder by omission. No man has ever been charged with that crime.
But a woman
No.
has.
Women are always, oh, it's your fault. You shouldn't have left your child alone, whatever. Well, the same thing can be said about Andrea Yates' husband, ex-husband. I think he's gone on.
Mm. Yeah.
He knew she shouldn't have been left alone with those kids.
And
He could have called in and said, hey, I'm going to be late because the babysitter for my wife hasn't shown up. He took off.
no, but he also
been
knew,
charged-
and he was told not to get her pregnant again, and he kept
Mhm.
getting pregnant.
Mhm.
And he
Mhm.
was told that she had postpartum depression and that she was on her last nerve. And
Yeah.
that something bad was going to happen. And he
They didn't charge him.
purposely got her
Oh, that
pregnant.
poor man, he lost all his children. Yeah, because he left his wife alone when he was told not to leave her alone.
Yeah, and they didn't get her help.
I'm fully on board with holding her accountable for what she did. And I'm glad they commuted her sentence because she did need mental health help. She really did need that help.
Well,
But
I worked at the state hospital where she's at
Mhm.
and got to know her.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, she's been on medication. She's
Mhm.
gone through treatment. She is a brilliant artist.
Yeah.
Brilliant. She can make and do anything. She is a sweet, godly woman, but she grieves what happened to those babies daily. And when it comes to that time of the year, we watch her closely.
Yeah.
But the thing with her is that she could be gone. She could leave the facility now and live in society. But
Mhm.
weekly, sometimes daily death threats come in the form of mail. And
Yeah.
she has acknowledged that her life is safe and better staying in the hospital.
Yeah.
She is, she to me was a victim
Mhm.
of a medical psychosis brought on by postpartum depression and not being medicated. He abruptly stopped meds. I got to be careful because I read her entire file. I know a lot more than most.
Mhm.
And I'm not giving anything away that's not known publicly. Okay. I'm not
Yeah.
saying anything that's
Well,
not
I
known
mean,
publicly.
that's when I'm talking about my case, I have to be careful because there's
Yeah.
a lot that,
Not
that's
that they can really
confidential
do
and
anything to
I
me,
can't
but
say anything and I don't want to say it. But I mean, with her case, that poor woman's case, and poor kids too. Yes, hold her accountable, but he needed to be held accountable too. And everybody was like, "Oh, that poor man," and they let him go. He could have been charged with murder by omission, and he should have been, but they didn't do it.
it's like they're not holding equal accountability. Now,
Mhm.
she should be where she was, Andrea Yates. She does deserve to get mental health taken care of because there was an obvious history of it. This wasn't, oh, I'm claiming mental health now. No, there was clear history.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
But
documented.
for me, I am getting sick and tired of those men or women. It could be a woman too, but mainly men who are getting off scot-free and actually collecting benefits on some of this, and people setting up GoFundMe's and people throwing money and I mean making a ton. Andrea Yates' husband made a lot of money off of her case, and that just infuriates me.
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry, my cat's pawing. So yes, the YFZ Ranch was 1,700 acres. You're correct.
Yeah, they built many. I can't remember. I actually went out to the ranch several times, at least once or twice a month from the time we had the initial hearing to when we had the status hearings, and then after, as the case wrapped up, I was going to San Angelo at least once a week or every other week. And because it's so far from where I live, I basically, I do my cases locally Mondays and Tuesdays. Wednesday, I would get on the road and drive all the way to San Angelo and then collapse when I get to my hotel. And then Thursday and Friday, I would be working the case.
Well, see, I know that drive all too well because that's where I go to college.
Yeah, it's like I-10 after once you get past San Antonio, oh my God, loud music as much as you can get loud music to keep you awake.
Up I-10 take Wrighton Junction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Menard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that drive all too well.
Let me see, because sometimes I didn't.
Do you know Fort McGavock
Junction? I went through somewhere else.
Oh yeah, there's several ways to go, but if you go I-10 all the way as far as you can, I'm a volunteer firefighter at Fort McGavock, which is not too far from there. But
I went up to Sonora because Sonora goes through El Dorado.
Yep.
Because if I was meeting with my clients, then basically Friday, I would set up my appointments with my clients like Friday morning. And so I would leave San Angelo, drive down to El Dorado. And then once I was done at the ranch, I would get back in my car and just go home. Because it's only
5-6 hours?
Again. Yeah, sometimes. Well, because it was Friday, I would usually stop in San Antonio. Yeah. And meet with family, meet with my friends.
Gotta make a weekend.
Yeah, have a nice weekend, go home on Sunday. But that meant nothing was getting done at my house, like cleaning, cooking, nothing. So by the end of this whole case, because single woman, my house was a mess.
Your whole life was a mess.
My whole life. It took me, I actually got sick in the late of August. And I spent around the time of the Olympics, because I know I watched the Olympics while I was in the hospital. I was in the hospital for close to a month. And that's almost the first time being an attorney almost killed me. And what was really sweet was my clients actually drove down from San Angelo or San Antonio, wherever they had regrouped to. They brought me flowers. They brought me food. They offered, I think they had looked up my house because they say that the FLDS don't use technology. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
They sure do.
They may not use it publicly, but they sure know how to go and find it.
They can find stuff. Yeah. And they offered to repair my house, do whatever I needed, because we had helped them get their children back, and they treasured their children so much. They were willing to do all this. And I was like, I work for legal aid. I can't accept anything because I'm already getting a check. And I'm like, thank you. What you've done, although I really.
So how long did this last, this trial? How long did the trial last?
The CPS case that we were involved in sure seemed like it lasted longer than it did. But by about September or October, all but one of the cases had been resolved.
So that's what?
Children returned.
5-6 months?
Yeah, from about March, April, May. Whenever it was, the raid happened, I think, Easter Sunday.
I have
or
something. It's
around
been nearly
Easter
8
Sunday.
weeks since raided, and this article was in March.
Okay. So it was around, I know it was around Easter because I think one of the affidavits for the search warrant mentioned Easter. That's not a holiday that FLDS celebrate.
So that's the latter part of March, early part of April.
Mm-hmm. And then you have 2 weeks before the first big hearing. And then about a month goes by, and then you have status hearings. But because there were so many, they were stretched out over like 3 or 4 weeks. So
Do
we
you
were
know who Wally Gossip is?
Wally Gossip.
Let me get this back to where it was because now I can't find it. Sorry, Wally Jessup argues it's un-American. They haven't got one woman that says, please save me. They haven't found one child that says, please save me.
Oh, Willie Jessup.
Jessup.
Willie. Yeah, he was one of the spokespeople for the FLDS. There
You know,
yeah, he
they-
was, but that is true. They didn't have one woman or even girl complain. But that just shows you how that just shows you just how much they're indoctrinated in this. And this was a really big obstacle for us.
well,
Because
and some of them were conditioned from birth.
oh,
And
it's
so they wouldn't know to complain.
yeah, and they're told to keep sweet, don't get angry, don't show emotion, don't, we could get them to understand certain things. But if you involve the prophet in anything, it's like a brick wall went up and they completely shut down. I'm like,
Shut down.
man, now I have to start all over again with the trust building, because they really truly believe that if they don't do what the prophet tells them, then he will exile them from the group,
And they go to hell.
and they will be they'll literally cut off, like all of everything. No job, no money, no home, no family, nothing. And they're told from the time that they're children that the outside world is dangerous, evil, people want to hurt them. And so it makes it very difficult when they're in a situation like this to get them to trust you. It's like, yes, we do want to help you. Yes, we were appointed by the state. Yes, the federal government. Like, how did they find out the federal government pays for legal aid and grants pay for my salary? That doesn't mean, whatever you tell me, I'm turning around and telling these other people, because I can't. This client confidentiality, I can't tell them anything unless you tell me I can. To this day, I have not changed my phone number. My cell number has always been the same, because, and I told both of my clients that I ended up having at the end, the last time I saw them, if you ever need help, or your children ever need help and they want to get out, call me and I will get you help. So I have not changed my phone number since that time.
Well, I want to commend you for, well, of course, that was your job to take it on. But,
Yeah.
My thing is, I'm worried about them now. I've thought about that before. What happens to them? Where are they now? How many of them are still in? How many have survived? How many have died in young childbirth? Because they don't go to the hospital to give birth at the age of 16, 17, 18, 19.
Well, they did. I don't know if he still
Not all of them.
I don't know if he still is a doctor, but they did have a medical doctor. They did have nurses. There were, before Warren Jeffs took over, the prior prophets had gone around and decided what jobs different people were going to have. And if they needed specific training for it, then they went to school. They were, the church, the community, paid for that person to go to school to get that degree and that licensure, and then come back in and work for the organization. So they have electricians, they have plumbers, they had at least one doctor
within themselves.
They're very self-sufficient. They were out there building a self-sufficient community. They had almost finished their water plant. They had electricity. They had their own electricity. They were generating their own electricity. They were growing their own crops. They had cattle. They had chicken. I think there were deer on part of the property. So in hunting, deer season, they would go out and shoot deer. They were preparing their own water treatment facility. By the time that we got on the by the time that we got the
So
case,
they were pretty much self-sufficient, but that doesn't mean things didn't happen and go
no, it doesn't. No,
unreported.
it doesn't. No. As I said, they got in the end, they got the right people. The right people were put in jail.
And all
but
these kids went back to their mamas,
Mhm.
but unfortunately the mamas are so brainwashed. What
I-
happened then? Who did they go
Mm.
to?
Well, the thing is, here, um, it's really hard for me to get information from them. I basically get some information through third parties. And I told you about the person that I've spoken with before. Some of my information comes through there. I get information elsewhere.
Well, it's kind of a
I
rhetorical
can't call my
question.
clients directly, or my former clients, I
Right.
should say,
Mm.
because they monitor everything, and I don't want to get them in trouble. But
No, but what I guess my question is,
Mhm.
what's sad is you save them from one monster, but many times that one monster is replaced with another.
Right now, they seem to be, there seems to be like some changes going on. People who are closer to the community, physically,
Mhm.
like I'm not in Utah or
No.
Arizona, so I don't know what's going on. But the people who live nearby say that a lot of there's still a core that follows Warren Jeffs as the prophet. They just don't know who's going to they don't know who's going to
Replace
be
him?
the prophet after he dies. There's groups that have broken off. Quite a few people have left, including a lot of the children who were involved in the raid. No surprising, very traumatic situation. Um,
But when you have those children who leave,
mhm.
they're not necessarily getting help for the emotional damage, the physical damage, and the
Yeah,
spiritual damage that's been caused.
there are
And
there are
they are
more
so
groups. There are more
Huh?
groups now helping them with that. Yes.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is even though they may get some help, they're still
It's not every.
statistically they're going to end up in relationships
Mhm.
that may not be like his, but still with controlling men, or they have a higher risk of being in abusive relationships, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And that is unfortunate. One of the good things that's come out of it is there are more groups
Mhm.
focusing on helping the girls and boys who leave, and sometimes men and women. At some point, it's really up to the individual when they decide they've had enough. I know that Warren Jeffs had said for close to 10 years, no one was to get married. He wasn't going to marry anybody. Men and women were not to have relations with if they were husband and wife, they were not to have relations with each other. So for
Yeah,
quite
let's see
some
how that
time,
works.
you had well,
Mhm.
it'd be kind of obvious after a while someone's pregnant, but
Unless
for
they
a
got
long
lucky and
time,
did get pregnant.
a lot of these girls grew up, weren't married off. No children were being born. The state in Utah and I think Arizona, they've basically come in and broken up the power structure in Arizona and Utah. So now you have a lot of former members who were kicked out coming back in, and rebuilding the community. But they're reopening the school. They're not polygamists. They're in law enforcement there now, so it's a better overall situation. I think Warren Jeff's house in Short Creek, I think it's now like a bed and breakfast or something like that.
Not a bed and breakfast. I want to stay out. Sorry.
You would be surprised. There's a lot of people who like to go out there and looky-loo. And I
Looky-loo is one. Spend the
Yeah.
night.
Yeah, let's play FLDS. No, you shouldn't be doing that. No, really, don't. But so there are changes, and yes, the Sam Bateman case, I think that's what his name was. Yeah, there's still that going on, but they're finding out about it earlier. The authorities are coming in and taking care of it and punishing these people. So hopefully, at some point, they get the message that even though the prophet says this one thing, you can't do it because you'll go to jail.
Ronnie says maybe the community has changed. Hopefully, the preacher person is only preaching and the community members are living within their individual families.
Well, right now, the only conduit between Warren Jeffs and the FLDS, the people who are still faithful to him, is his son. And so he supposedly goes and visits with his father and writes down everything that he says and then repeats it to the followers. So,
Well,
but I really haven't heard of anything from the FLDS, that particular group that I was involved with. I really haven't heard anything about them since he was put in jail. And he's been in jail since 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
He's in jail for life, like 3 life sentences.
Yeah. And I think he went the same time that my ex went.
Mhm.
But I seem to recall seeing a documentary, and
There's been several.
well, yeah, but the documentary I saw was just a global, different people and things like that.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I was happy to see, and you touched on it here, are their groups. And I think it's good that you have people who got out years ago, are living a very comfortable life, assimilated into the norm of society,
Mhm.
and have formed kind of an underground, a lot of secret groups that, there's secretivity there so that there's safety, of
Mhm.
course. But it kind of reminds me of some of the Amish. But, some people don't understand the one thing that's really big, Amish will shun you and that's it. The
Yeah.
LDS will come and chase after you and pull you back. They will, I knew somebody who literally in the middle of the night jumped out of a 2-second story window and crawled for 3 acres
Mhm.
overnight to get out. And she was 2 months pregnant with a 3rd child at the age of 19.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that you go, and she said that she tried to get away many times, and every time she got away, they'd find her and drag her back. Now, luckily, the government got involved and she was able to, things worked out, finally got her kids, but it took a 6-year battle.
Yeah.
And
Long,
people don't-
expensive battle to get that.
Well, the LDS has all the money in the world where you, the victim,
Are you talking about
can't fight.
No, LDS or not
I mean,
polygamous? FLDS.
FLDS, thank you.
Um,
I'm really
And-
bad with letters and acronyms.
yeah. Well, and
this
there,
group-
and there's more than one fundamentalist LDS group that practices polygamy, and they all go by different names. They're all interrelated somehow, and they all seem to have disagreements with the other, like, oh, not
True.
that group over there. They're not the real FLDS. We are, there's a lot of like turf battles over
Mhm.
that.
Well, but the
And
thing
some are
is
more strict and some are more lenient. Like, I can't even remember all the names now. There's one FLDS group where they don't require modest attire for the men and women, so you don't see the women walking around in prairie outfits with their hair done up. They wear blue jeans and t-shirts. So,
Yeah.
But if you see somebody dressed like that, they are not FLDS. I will tell you that right now. They may have been at one time, but they're not now.
Yeah.
So,
well, my heart and my mind always goes to, I wish there was ways that these women could get help, because this young girl that we watched the trial recently tried to escape,
Mhm.
and they chased her down the street and they
Yeah.
dragged her back and told the neighbors a story, and they got her back in the house, and just it's just so sad because she tried to escape, and yet
Yeah.
she decided that the only way to get out of there is to save her daughter from a life that she was living, was to unalive the daughter and herself. And now she's spending the rest of her life in jail and in
And
prison,
nothing's happening to him.
and nothing's no, in fact, he's still doing it.
Mhm.
And he
Well,
had a
it
friend that was in jail that lived with them for a period of time, who believed in him. They're calling him like a prophet. And he was the one that was talking about all their lifestyles and drinking of the urine and what they believed and all of this stuff. And he's still drinking urine in jail. And
well,
so,
at
but the
least
thing
he's in
was, is that,
jail.
huh?
At
No,
least
no,
he's
not
in
the
jail.
husband, father,
Oh,
the friend that lived with them for a while that testified against her.
oh no.
The father never the husband and father of the infant never showed up to trial until she was convicted and showed up at sentencing. And he's,
Mhm.
but it was one
Well-
of those things that you just kind of go, why is he not being looked at?
Yeah. Well, and
Andrea said that she thought we were talking about the Apostolic United Brethren.
that might be, I know that's another group in the Arizona, Utah, like Short Creek area. I know that group, or St. George, Utah. I know that's another group out there, and they do wear modern apparel. The FLDS that I'm talking about, those are the ones in the prairie dresses and the high hair and stuff.
I find it interesting they can't wear jewels and they can't wear fancy stuff, but their hair can be fancy.
Well, they have to have it all up. It
Yeah.
can't be loose. Even from the time, like even the small little baby girls, they would have like little like the little tiny ponytails. Even if their hair wasn't long enough to put like in a braid or something. But yeah, as soon as it's old enough to be, they're old enough and the hair's long enough to be braided and put up, it's put up.
It's up.
It's
Okay,
up.
let's not use the CUL blank blank S word. It could get me dinged in YouTube. So let's be very careful with that word. You can abbreviate it. I'm going to delete. Don't get your knickers in a knot. I just don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. But yeah.
Well, and
Okay, well, Andrielle grew up in the mainstream Mormon church.
yeah. Mainstream Mormons do not, as far as I'm aware, do not practice polygamy. Now, do some? Yes. But it's not a recognized practice in the church.
Mm-hmm.
It's not recognized. One of the things that was so infuriating for me about this case was the state was making such a big deal about adult men and underage women. That year, or actually the turn of the next year. So I think our involvement with the case extended into like January or February at some point. And I can't remember why, but I remember in January, in Dallas, Texas, the first child born was born to a teenage mother, and she was like 15 or 16, and an adult man. And instead of that man being thrown in jail and CPS coming and removing the child and doing an investigation, she was given all of the prizes that you get for having the first baby. And my clients were furious because how can you say we did something wrong when here it's happening in the mainstream society, and that person gets rewarded and the guy doesn't even go to jail, doesn't even get arrested or charged. And it's like, yeah, we are a bit hypocritical, aren't we?
Hey, Adair. Yes, you are
So
true.
this is a big problem in our like mainstream society. We're not above this happening, folks. It happens every single day. Most of the teenage girls who get pregnant are impregnated by adult men.
Well,
and we're
and
not
the
doing
thing is,
anything about it.
and they're saying, what is okay, in Texas, this age of consent I thought was 17.
No, it's now 18.
I thought
all
it
of
was
that-
lowered.
No. When the FLDS started making noises that they were moving in, that's when the state raised the age of consent to 18, and
Not
also
17, not 16.
It used to be 14. And you used to be able to get married in Texas at the age of 14 with parental consent. That is no longer the case. You have to be 18 in order to get
So
married.
in 1988, when I was R-word by my manager at the age of 17, by a few months, 17,
Mhm.
they
It wasn't-
went to the it was reported. I went through everything. They went and spoke to him at the place of business, and because I was 17 at age of consent, they said, it's your word against hers. We need you to come and do a lie detector test. Now, I did a lie detector test that very morning and passed,
Yeah.
but he got off from work, stole $20,000 out of the safe of the restaurant. He was Middle Eastern, left his pregnant wife, and went back over to Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
Never caught him. And they said, well, oops, sorry. Now, had you been 16, he would have been arrested on the spot.
Yeah. Well, we have an issue in our society where it seems like girls and women who are victims have to prove themselves to be worthy of being victims. And if there's any little thing they can use against you, oh, well, that's why it happened. You're not a good person. So the guy gets off with whatever he wants.
Well, and the
like
same
the
as a white
the
woman.
Lolita syndrome.
And then there's these women who were held in ST,
Mhm.
and they do a raid or something, and there is white women, Hispanic, Black women, Chinese, a whole array of nationalities.
Mhm.
And the only ones who get booked for the P word are the white women. Everybody
Mhm.
else are victims. The white women are automatically assumed to be willing in those situations. It's just now society needs to change. You know, it's gotten to the point.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get too political about it, but there is a huge problem with misogyny in our society today. And a lot of people don't want to see it. They don't want to acknowledge it exists. They just want to say, oh, that's a woke word. I'm not going to, no. But a lot of these, like calling a teenage girl a Lolita, that tells me someone has never even read the plot summary of that book. Because if you read the plot summary, that girl is a victim.
Yes.
She's not the perpetrator. She's not evil. She's not bad. Whatever the main character's name is, he's the bad person. And so whenever I see someone saying, oh, like the Long Island Lolita case, where the teenage girl that the guy was abusing shot the wife, or
Unalive. You're good.
No, she did not. No, she was not unalive.
Oh, lead shot. Lead shooter.
Yeah, lead poisoning. Temporary lead poisoning.
Yep.
She's a Lolita. She, they just make her to be out some unsavory kind of person. Go and read the plot summary on Wikipedia and see if you don't agree with me that the Lolita character, she was a victim. She's a victim. So whenever somebody uses that term, that tells me they've never read the plot.
And they don't know what they're talking about.
And they just want to inflame people to blame the young girl or young woman. Maybe she's 19 or 18 or 19. That's an adult. And preserve the man's
reputation.
We had a local case here many years ago, more than 10 years ago, where they did a raid. The cops did a raid downtown, and they arrested not only the women, but they also arrested the Johns. They ran the photos, partial addresses, and names
Of the women.
all of the women, but none of the men. And when I was a member of a women's club, primarily one political party affiliation, but their goal was to raise money, and all the money was spent on local organizations. So I participated because I wanted to help raise money for, the women's shelter needs a copier. We raise money and we give you the money so you can buy the copier, kind of thing. So they invited the DA to come in and speak to us at a luncheon. And everybody was looking at me like, we know you, keep your mouth shut. And I'm like, no problem with me. I'm not like, I'm not going to say anything. I know how to behave in polite society.
But do you really?
I do. Because when he started talking about this particular case, the women he thought were least likely to grill him were these three little white ladies that we all knew what party they belonged to. They all raised their hands, and the one he picked was very indignant and said, when you did that raid on San Bernardo, how come you only published the names and photos of the women? And his answer, like he looked right at me, and I'm like, I had nothing to do with this. I'm in the opposite side of the room of this person. Not me. I didn't.
Not me. Not I, said the putty cat.
And
I didn't lay the trap.
He put his foot in it. He said, well, the men have reputations. How embarrassing would it be for their wives and their children? And so the other ladies standing next to her didn't even bother to raise her hand. Well, don't you think those women have families? Don't you think those women have children? And they're embarrassed? How come it's okay to embarrass women, but not men? Well, we have never since they've since done raids down that particular street in my town. And they've never again published names, photos, identities, addresses of anybody. Like, he looked like he was swallowing his teeth. Like, what do I say to this?
There was this person in San Antonio. I remember this, and I thought, freaking brilliant. Paid once a month for part of the newspaper so they could put what they wanted. And they were putting mugshots of the men who were arrested.
Yeah.
For soliciting. For inappropriateness with women.
Yeah.
And they finally shut them down because they said they had a right to privacy. And I'm like, I am so dang tired of the victims having less rights than the criminals, especially after they have been convicted. An example, my own case.
Yeah. Well, if they've been convicted, that's one thing. But in we do have a constitutional right, applies to everybody, of a presumption of innocence. And so now on the whenever they do the crime report, whatever in the newspaper, on the top, it says very plainly, everyone has the right to the presumption of innocence. Everyone is considered innocent until proven guilty.
All that was in there.
Just because, So just because they were arrested, just because they've been indicted, doesn't mean a thing.
But the thing is like in my own personal life, when he was convicted, I had 2 children. He had more rights than I did when we were going through the divorce and we were going through things. And I'm like, you know what he went to jail for, right? I told you.
You told me.
How can you have more rights than me? I'm taking care of the kids. They live with me. I had to fight like crazy. And it was just absolutely insane. But that's another story for another day for a lot of people. But I'm sure that being that this was a father of these children that were moved from this situation you were talking about,
Mhm.
how hard was it to balance his rights as a father versus their rights as the mother? That to me would be a little
Well, in our case, the women that we were representing were the wives of the men who weren't part of the inner circle.
oh okay.
I think I told you that the inner circle got, they basically Warren Jeffs and his brothers. They had attorneys. The FLD, the church went out and bought, well,
Paid,
not
yeah.
bought, but they paid for attorneys for them. The rest of the women and the fathers were told they were on their own. So we got the women who were the ones who were left on their own because yes, they lived on the ranch and the church took care of all of their living expenses, but they didn't have any money to pay for an attorney. So,
Right. But I'm talking
what we
about Warren and his situation.
Mhm.
How
his
the balancing act between his right as a father of the children being the accused and all of that with that of the victim mother and child.
Well, he was already in jail. Oh wait, no, yes, he was already in jail. He had been arrested
But he wasn't convicted yet.
I think in the Alyssa Wall case he had been convicted.
Oh,
and
okay.
he was waiting an appeal.
Okay.
And pending the appeal, that's when Texas brought him down. And then I think something happened with with her case, and I don't know if the charges got dismissed or I don't know what happened, but by that time he was already in Texas and he was in jail and he wasn't getting out. So I think at that point, we did not handle cases involving his biological children. So I do not know the status. It's possible that CPS at some point they did termination cases and terminated his parental rights, or they could have just said, you know what, he's in jail, he's never getting access to these kids, the kids are safe, so we're not going to do anything at this point. The other men that they found, the ones I said who were in his inner circle, who did marry underage and had children with those particular wives, they're also in jail. And I think they got shorter sentences because the age differences weren't so much. Like there was one, I think the guy was like in his, he was like,
when the one in his 20s and the other one was like, it was like 5 to 6 years.
One guy, there was one guy who only had one wife, and they fell like 2 or 3 months out of the Romeo and Juliet protection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think she was like 2 or 3 months too young to have married him, and they still convicted him. It's like,
it's a mandatory, and I do know this because I know somebody who went through it, not anybody with me. The mother and father of both of the children knew they were dating, and it's a 3-year gap. If you were less than 3 years apart, there's no jail time.
Yeah.
But he was 3 years, 13 days older. Mandatory minimum 5 years in jail. Boom.
Yeah.
Nothing. You couldn't argue out of it.
Yeah. I thought that was, in that one particular case, I thought was unfortunate. But the rest of the men were in jail for years. I think there's only, besides Jeffs, who's in for life, I think he got 3 life sentences. I think there's only 1 or 2 men left in jail. So the ones who were really guilty of doing whatever, they went to jail. The other fathers who hadn't done anything, hadn't consented to their children being married underage or were found to have underage wives, CPS can't do anything in that case.
Guys, please don't use the CU blank blank T word. You're going to get me in trouble. So abbreviate it. Okay? Not trying to be mean, but I'm deleting it every time you put the word up because I am not going to get in trouble and get zapped by YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an important topic. I believe we need to be educated. Part of my reason for education is you guys need to know what happens because your daughter can be pulled into one of these. You have a very young, impressionable daughter, and they do go
anybody
and
can be
pick
pulled
outside
in.
the family. Huh?
Anybody can be pulled in. It's really scary. In the case of the FLDS, they don't proselytize. They don't accept outsiders coming in.
Mhm.
I think in Alyssa Wall's case, it was different because her father was already somewhat of a very highly conservative Mormon. And he went into the group.
Yeah, but there are other groups out there who are very similar.
There are others that are very similar. There's the Sister Wives craziness, which I stopped
I don't
following
even
a long time
watch
ago.
that. It makes me
I just-
sick. How can society normalize that and create a show to glorify that?
Well, I think
just kinda
that
can't.
show goes back to what, 2008, 2007. Not a lot was known about these groups at the time. I'm surprised that that particular show is still on the air, quite frankly. Big Love, which was on HBO, I found to be very interesting because they were trying to do this modern take on, what polygamy really looks like nowadays. And then they just really went off the
Why are
deep
they
end.
not getting arrested when a lot of the states that I thought it was illegal. Why are they not getting in trouble?
Well,
Broadcasting
look at our society.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
not all uncommon. It's not all uncommon for married people to have other, extracurricular activities, and have children with those extracurricular activities. What makes that any
I don't know.
different than a polygamist?
True. Isn't Sister Wives broken up now? I don't know, but I will
think
tell
so.
you,
But
there's
I
a
keep
lot of
seeing
drama
stuff-
breakup.
Yeah, I keep seeing stuff on YouTube about it. So I don't know. I don't know if the show's still on the air or if it's in a different format now. I'm just still surprised it's still around. I actually saw Cody at the Las Vegas airport one time. He was coming off a flight and I was going to one. Didn't give me a positive impression. I didn't speak to him or anything. It's just the way he would, the look he had on his face and how he was treating people around him. I was like, yeah, not somebody I want to know.
No.
Take that for what it is. I mean, he could have been having a bad day. I don't know. So.
Yeah, I just, at this point, society, we have changed a lot in the last 50 years. Although, honestly, a lot of this was going on back then. We just didn't have the social media and the presence
about it.
And we didn't talk about it.
Nobody talked about it. And I don't know if you've been following the case out of France. The woman's name is Gabrielle. Her last name starts with a P, but I
think I heard something about it, but I haven't.
With her husband and the 50 men, she said.
The husband and the what?
Basically what he was doing was he was drugging her to the point of her being unconscious and then putting ads out on the internet.
ST.
Hey, you wanna come
ST.
play around with my wife? Come right ahead. And there were 50 men that they've caught and they tried them all at the same time and they've all been found guilty.
Thank you.
She came out and said, it's time for shame to be reversed. We should stop shaming the victims and start shaming the perpetrators.
Yes.
Because, there were some things that happened and the judge, we need to close the courtroom so the men aren't shamed. And she said, what about me? And they kept asking her, are you sure you want to go public? Are you sure you want this televised? And she's like, I want everybody to see what happened to me.
See, and people know this. I'm a survivor of ST, and I am very careful about how and where I share any details, because there's people out there in my life who don't believe what I say, because honestly, it's too hard for them to believe what I say is truth, because what does it say about them? Because they knew me at the time, but they didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
The thing is, it is such a, it used to be a forbidden topic. Now, if you're in ministry, you can, oh, we're helping these women come out of ST, and oh my gosh, we want to start a ministry and we want to do all this. And we will pay people to come from out of state and give us stats on ST, but we won't listen to the one who went through it and survived it and is the 0.001%, 26 years surviving. I'm a 26-year survivor. How many women live 26 years after coming out of that kind of environment? Not many. Disease, health, mental health, self-harm, all this stuff. And it gets me that we can talk about certain things in some areas and it's okay, but I can't even talk about it publicly here on YouTube to educate moms on how to protect their daughters or educate women what to look for so you don't get into this. We have to guard every single word. I can't even say it without getting kicked off of something.
Yeah.
I'm the one that's being shamed for sharing what I went through. Oh, don't talk about it. You don't want your kids to hear about that. You don't want your grandkids to know about that. You don't want people to know you went through that. And I finally looked at somebody and I said, I will take all of that shame that people are putting on me if it saves one girl, one person, boy or girl, boys too. So it's very frustrating, because what about the shame of the men who did what they did to me?
It's yeah, they don't have any shame. And if you look, there's something that I keep seeing posted frequently, as these types of cases come up. It's usually it was a woman saying, I wish I had a boyfriend who would protect my reputation as much as he does a man on the internet that he does not know.
Yeah.
That's a societal change we have to make. Another one that we have to make, because you just kind of touched on it, is the male victims of SA. How many times do we hear something happens to a teenage boy and a female teacher? Oh, he's so lucky. Oh, I wish I had her when I was in high school. I would have been hot for teacher. Those boys are victims, okay? They're victims just as much as girls. And by saying stuff like that, you're making them feel like, oh, I'm supposed to be a man. I'm supposed to feel this way, but they don't feel that way. So they think there's something wrong with them for needing counseling or feeling icky or whatever mental things they're going through because of what happened to them. Because on the outside, you've got all these people, oh, I'm hot for teacher. Oh, she's hot. I wish she had been my teacher, blah, blah.
There's just too much.
Those boys as victims just as much. We need to start fighting for them as much as we fight for the girls.
I agree 100%, because I know some males who've been victims and it has so destroyed their lives, but it affects them from the moment it happens through adulthood and their marriages and the relationship with their sons. And there's always this unhidden shame. I mean, this hidden shame. It's not even
until decades later that they think all of these problems that I've been having are because of this.
Yes. think
I see someone said asking what else happened at the trial. This
Yeah,
is
I
like
saw
a
that.
long story. It's a very long story. Short answer is, um, the Court of Appeals out of San Antonio. Is it San Antonio or Austin?
Is it the Ninth
Reversed,
Circuit?
huh?
Is it the Ninth Circuit or the Fifth? Out of
No,
Austin.
that's federal.
That's federal. Okay,
Fifth
never mind.
Circuit is
Okay.
federal.
Okay.
I'm not sure which Circuit Court of Appeals. I think it was in Austin. The case is online. You can find it. But they shockingly completely reversed the trial court, threw out the findings because they found that the whole way the hearing had been conducted was unconstitutional to begin with, and there were a lot of other issues. So the CPS case basically resolved by about, I would say like August, September, October, maybe into January. Some of the cases still had, I know at the very, very end, they did not dismiss one case. But the other cases had all been resolved, children returned, nothing. I think the one case that was still unresolved, the young girl was placed with an aunt and not her parents. And then in the criminal trials, all of that, which happened like a year or two later, this was 2008. So like 2009, 2010 were the criminal cases. Excuse me. And there were convictions across the board. But
Wow.
that's the short answer. That's the short answer.
So Don says I saved an adult male for being arrested the 8th time for DV. It was the wife doing the DV, then crying wolf, but I was there. He was finally able to get out because of me. The cops believe me. But the amount of women after that told me I was bad. How could I get him off? He was DVing his wife for me. I was there.
Yeah, that's another
Johnny
issue
Depp,
that we have.
Amber Heard.
Yeah, that's another issue that we have with there are a lot of male victims of domestic violence. It goes unreported because when these guys get to court, DV, sorry. I just did this for like,
It's okay.
You're 10, 15 years. It just comes out of my mouth.
Oh, that's okay. We're almost 2 hours in. So
ooh, well, I'm gonna have to get going. So, but
no, me too. But that was sarcasm.
Yeah. But there really aren't any resources. And what the local DV shelter did, I don't know if they still do it now because I haven't been on their board for quite some time, but they did have a fund where if a man needed emergency shelter, because they could not stay in the women's shelter because their grant said it's only for women and children, boys and girls under the age of 15. Boys under 15, girls could be there because, women. They would fund hotels. They had special arrangements with some hotels here in town, and they would give them a very discounted rate. But a lot of these men, they need shelter too. I also saw a lot of elder abuse, which thankfully stopped. I know a lot of people complain about this, but when Social Security started requiring direct deposit, they were no longer going to send out checks. My caseload for elderly abuse vanished overnight because the abusers knew when the checks were coming and they would steal the checks from the mailbox.
Well, and see, in criminal justice, many of you know I'm going to college right now for criminal justice, and that was something that we were having a hot topic about. And somebody, one of the questions was, when is the highest time of crime during the month? I said, the 3rd of the month.
Well, also,
Security, whenever the Social Security, technically, because it varies. But
now it's direct deposit.
Right.
My caseload for elder abuse cases vanished. Like, it was like, what happened? Like, I'm saying within 1 or 2 months, we no longer had those cases.
Right.
because
But what I'm saying is,
they had
people
the
think.
people were able to control their own money, and the abusers couldn't get to them.
Well, now they're starting to get to where they can do it digitally, but the
Yeah.
worst of it was in the 80s, 90s, before they made that change. It was at the height of theft, and it was horrible. Let's see, our local shelter has 3 parts: women, men, and family side. They have a lot of the LGBTQ, isn't it LGBT?
Yeah, there's a
Men.
lot of that's another reason.
Mhm.
There's DV in the gay community, and a lot of times it doesn't go reported. Not so much now, but I remember back when in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I was practicing, I would have to ask my clients, are you out? Because if you're not out now, you file this protective order, you're going to be outed.
Yeah.
And I personally believe no one should be outed until they're ready. And so somebody comes, a friend of mine comes and tells me they're gay. I'm not repeating that. That's not gossip to me. They come out when they feel safe. But I would have to advise my client, and it's a very hard conversation to have, because they have their entire lives. They've got family and friends that they know.
Their careers. A lot of them lose careers.
Their families are very anti homosexual. So their lives are going to be destroyed. I mean, they're being destroyed because they're in an abusive relationship, but there's nothing they can do about it, because the second they stand up for themselves and file charges or file a protective order, they get outed. And that is a form of abuse too.
Yeah. That is so true. That is
and it's still true, because there are a lot of people, especially now in the trans community, there are a lot of people who keep it under wraps because they just don't know what the reaction is going to be now.
Well, and they handle it. And one thing about RuPaul, he's lived through all of that. Whether you like him or not, he has survived some of the worst times in American history concerning all this. But I do know for a fact he has set up, and there are groups within the community that are being set up to help those who are going through exactly what you're talking about. That if they have to report and they get outed, there's safety for them. They just get a hold of the organization. I'll see if I can find that organization.
Yeah.
But
I mean, groups and organizations can only do so much.
True.
It's up to the rest of us to say, you know what? I don't personally, I don't see how you can disagree with how someone thinks of themselves or expresses themselves or lives their life. I don't know how you can agree or disagree with that. That's just who they are. We need to say, as a society, abuse of someone based on who they are, what their gender identity is. That's no reason to abuse them. That's no reason to target them. That's no reason to harm them in any way. Just
see, as a chaplain,
none
exactly.
Business.
As a chaplain, I get asked all the time, and I'm like, look, I have my faith, I have my belief. I don't put it on anybody else, and I believe, and this is not getting preachy, but I will say this one thing: no one sin is greater than the other sin. If you believe what they're doing is a sin, and you've sinned in your life, which we all have, if you believe in sin, then you can't judge. I look at you as a human being, first and foremost, and you do not deserve to be DV'd, SA'd, whatever.
Assaulted.
We are all
murdered,
equal in this world when it comes to all of that. We're equal. And if you think you are better than anybody else because of what you believe is their sin, and you think your sin is better than their sin, you're the problem.
Might want to go read what Jesus said about the Pharisees, because
yes, thank you.
Wasn't very complimentary. I will say that. But
But I guess what
This
the
is
whole
something
gist
else.
of this is everybody deserves to be protected from
Yeah.
the perpetrator, whatever that looks like in that situation.
Now there is a case. It's just hitting the news cycles. It's with Blake Lively and the guy she was in that movie with, who directed that movie. And I'm already seeing people taking his side just because they don't like her.
I don't know what it is. Justin Mal.
Yeah, it's
Baldoni?
she's accusing him of
Of SH.
harassment.
I
I'm
think
not
we'll
sure.
follow this.
I haven't really paid much attention to it personally. I don't know him. I don't care about her. But guys, when you're reading this stuff and reading the headlines, and you're seeing all the posts that are anti Blake Lively, read for why they're really. I mean, are they? Is it because they don't like her? Is it because they think she's a bad person? Because she has had some problematic history. She has been rude to reporters. Oh no, she's rude. That doesn't mean she should be, SH'd or SA'd by a director. So when you're reading those articles, just look at it through the lens of why are they writing it this way? Is it because of the facts? Or is it because this person doesn't like Blake Lively?
They have their own agenda. I always look for where's the agenda in this article.
Yeah.
And this is where I get really angry. I don't look at the news media. I want to read the court documents. Just give me the facts. I don't want your opinion.
I'll tell you,
your opinion doesn't mean anything in this case.
With the Johnny Depp case, I was actually leaning towards Amber Heard. Based on what I heard. No, let me explain. Based on what I had heard, because I really wasn't paying attention. I was like, I can't remember when the case happened. If it happened in 2021, I was like busy with my own nonsense. I've already talked to you about that. So when I started watching the case, I think he put on his case first. And I started watching the live feeds and I was like, he's got some pretty solid evidence. And some of the stuff that she had said, like he like beat me, and like the descriptions of those incidents, I'm thinking, if he did that, you would like, you didn't have to go to the hospital after all of that? Like everything that
from a person who has survived that and worse?
That's when I'm like, oh, wait a minute. She better have something on her side that there has to be, let's start connecting all these dots. And then they put her side up and it's just like, no. And this is why I always, when it's a big case like this, and like with the Blake Lively thing that's coming up, I'm sorry, my cat's crying.
Don't worry about it. We all have animals.
I'm just hoping all three of them don't start yelling. That's fun.
But
wait until you see what happened, see how the trial plays out. Read the court documents, see what evidence do they have to back all of these claims up, because they have to, they have to prove it.
Well, and see, when I came into this was an accident.
Yeah.
I started seeing something. Something happened and I was in bed, COVID or something. I don't know. And I saw Emily D. Baker and the purple hair caught my attention. And I saw Johnny Depp. Now, I liked him as an actor, but I didn't know anything about him as a person. And then I started, oh my gosh, he did this to her. And I got all involved. And I believed that she was innocent because she was a woman. But I just heard a little bit. I just heard a little bit, and I know that Johnny Depp sometimes can have a temper, but I then started watching it and then I got off. I mean, I stopped listening. Now I love EDB. I
Yeah.
absolutely love her.
I
But for a
watched her
deaf
channel for
person-
that trial. Yeah.
For a deaf person, I needed just the captioning and that because it's hard for me. So I started watching the trial without any commentation whatsoever. And about 10 minutes into her stuff, I was all like, nuh-uh. The bruises don't match the bed. Then I only saw a day or so of trial. I came in the middle of it. And then
Yeah.
I saw Law and Lumber. And when they were talking about the bed, my father, he's deceased, was a woodworker. And I saw that bed and I'm like, there is no way from what she's describing that happened. Then I saw Law and Lumber and I was like, good for you.
Yeah.
And then I was hooked. And
Yeah, because I mean, her
but
case
when she
didn't stand
started
up.
describing the brutality of what had been done, she would have been in the hospital getting internally sewed up.
Well, the number of
And
times she
externally.
described her head being banged on a marble counter or granite counter, I'm like, girl, you walked away from that? And now I'm saying this as someone who handled DV cases where I would read the
Yeah.
description of what the lady said, and I would be
Medical
like,
report?
no, there's no way this happened.
Mm-mm.
I took one case just because I didn't meet the one. I had so many cases I couldn't meet these the women before the hearings that I had, unless they had children. She didn't have children with this guy, so I didn't meet her until the actual hearing. But the paralegal who took her statement was like, "You really need to take this case." I mean, I really believe her, and I was just like, "There's no way. There's no way." And we get to the court. And we had a couple of police officers, and one of them was this like giant of a man, like about as wide as he was tall. I mean, he could have been a linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys or something. He came out, and up until that point, the defendant had been real like jerky, not just to her, but to me. They sat him on opposite sides of the courtroom. He got up. We had a female judge. And that guy was so out of control. Before I even spoke to introduce the parties and what was going on, and the policeman behind me, he said, "Your Honor, I wish that when I had hit her on whatever day it was, which was in my affidavit, I wish I had hit her so hard that I would have had to bury her." Boom, that protective order, I didn't have to say a word. I got that protective order. And after that point, that really opened my eyes. You're reading something and you're thinking, oh my God, there's no way this happened. There's no way in hell. I almost turned down that case.
I'm
I
glad
was
you
this
didn't.
close, and I didn't. And
Well-
boy, my eyes were opened that day. So when I was hearing all of the stuff that she was saying, before he said anything, obviously, I was like, there's a possibility there. Let's see what happens in court. And I really didn't take a side until I started listening to the testimony. And yeah, he had like, I mean, yes, there was something going on. Those two never should have gotten together. Whoever told them to get married was not doing anybody a favor. Thank goodness they didn't have children. I don't think either one of them personally are very nice people. But that doesn't mean that somebody should go to jail, or be held liable for millions of dollars for something they didn't do.
I think Johnny Depp, I think if you can get away from the persona that he puts out there,
Mhm.
and you hear and get to know of what he does for the children in the community that we heard a little bit about, I think at the core he's a good guy. I think he's just so Hollywoodized and what he had to go through. But
Yeah, when he gets
he
surrounded
has a
by yes
temper.
men,
we saw the temper. Yeah, I agree. And I know there's, I'm Irish, Native American. This girl had to work long and hard to get that temper under control.
Mhm.
Many years. But him beating on his cabinets and pouring a mega pint of wine, which I thought was funny because when I saw that glass, I have that. It's the redneck wine glass.
Mhm.
Okay. And he didn't, just because he got abusive with the cabinet doors does not mean he abused her.
Yeah.
And I see that on both sides of the fence in society nowadays. And sometimes you can only take so much and you snap. And as long as he didn't lay a hand on her, then he shouldn't be in jail. Should they be together? That is like,
Mhm.
absolutely not.
Nope.
But I'm glad they got the decision right. But it destroyed his career. He lost a lot in that. The Pirates
He's
of the
been gaining
Caribbean.
some of it. I think they've hired him back for the next one. So I don't know. That's
I
what I
don't
get. I
know.
mean, I just like, I've got so much other stuff.
Well, I'm not
that I
following
do.
him now, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying society needs to stop picking sides and just look at the case and look at the evidence. Now Sarah Boone is about the only one that I have ever walked in and go, girl, you guilty. Because she recorded it. I mean, come on.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah. And then, I mean, there were so many issues with that case. And I know a lot of people got mad because attorneys stepped in, and I explained this to you the other day when we talked. It was very unsettling, very uncomfortable for me and a lot of other attorneys when the judge said, no more, like, you don't have an attorney. And I understand she used up all of her chances for a publicly appointed attorney. But there's a reason, there's a reason for the Gideon decision from the Supreme Court. It's very daunting to go up against the state. Now, the state likes to pretend they don't have any money and they don't have any resources. Don't ever listen to that, because they do. They've got more than anybody else, and they can go, as we're seeing in the Karen Reed case, they can go forever and ever and ever because they've got limitless pockets. Those.
more than the feds?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Really?
I mean, well, once everybody's waiting for the feds to step in and end that nonsense. I don't know
And why
what
haven't
they're
they?
waiting for at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so the federal issues in that case aside, they can drag this case on forever and ever and ever. And Karen Reed and her parents have already lost everything. So it is a very, it's very uncomfortable for attorneys to see a defendant go into a big case like that and have to represent themselves. So I understand why those defense attorneys, I think they were from different firms.
Well, one
I
came
can
in and then
understand
he
why
brought
they-
others to it.
Yeah.
The one came in and then he brought others in.
Yeah. I had told somebody, and I don't know who I had told, or I said, don't be surprised if there are attorneys out there right now meeting and talking about getting somebody in there to defend her. So I am not surprised that happened, because this case with her, with all of her issues, that would have just been very uncomfortable to me. No, I mean, knowing what I knew and what the outcome was going to be, it was very uncomfortable for me as an attorney, because you really shouldn't be going up representing yourself in any kind of criminal case without an attorney, but especially a case like that. So it didn't surprise me that the criminal defense bar in Florida, people talked to each other and they went down there and organized their own group to represent her.
Even though we knew she did it, she admitted it. She, under the law,
See, I didn't even
has
know
a
that.
right.
So that's why I was kind of hemming and hawing my words, because I was out of the country when the case was going on.
Yeah, she admitted
Yeah.
that she got him in there and she fussed at him. She didn't admit to beating him, but she
Yeah.
admitted to the video and stuff after all this had come through. But the biggest thing is I agree, under the law, she has a right to representation, period.
Mhm.
But
She didn't have any money, so that's why she gets the court-appointed counsel. But and now
it
here
comes
is
to
a
a
female
point, though, that
attorney.
there
This is
has to be a limit.
Yeah, there does. And I hit my limit with her as a female attorney when her complaint about, I think the last one that she had was that she was mean to me. Girl, she's your attorney. She's not your friend. It's not her job to be nice to you. It's not her job to make you feel good. It's not her job to sit there and pat your shoulder.
Her job
pat
is to
your
tell
knee.
you the truth and get your butt a fair trial, period. End of discussion.
That's the end. And it's her job to say, these are the facts. This is how it looks. What do you got? What do you got to counter this? And so as a female attorney, that's always the complaint that we get. Oh, she was mean to me, judge. Or I would go and a lot of these men in my DV cases were pro se. Oh, judge, she was so mean to me out in the hallway. And I would just like, are you kidding me?
But if you had pants on, you were being firm.
Yeah. I mean, I never addressed anybody. I was never intentionally rude or short to people. I always addressed people by their last, Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so. If there was an attorney on the other side, I never slagged their client. And when they would come and start saying, talking dirt about my clients, I would be, hey, excuse me, I don't say stuff about your client to you. You don't say stuff about my client to me. Their issue is not, we're here to sort it out, but it's not, if you want to make it personal, I'll make it personal. Yeah, we can go to town. But
I'd love to see you dance.
I'd
love to see you dance with them. Then that would have been a blast.
I no longer have the bandwidth for it. I used to love going into court and, just hammering it away. I actually beat somebody with their own motion once. That was good.
Yeah, because
I'm sorry if you misstated the case law and the statute, but here's where you're wrong. And this way you've written it sounds real good, but
yeah.
Here's
Katie
where you're
Mills has
wrong.
a question. I thought they only had certain budgets to prosecute cases and limited budgets on testing and everything. I have seen that in other cases in other states. So that's what they claim.
They claim it. Now, y'all know there was, I can't remember the Supreme Court case, but it's a Fourth Amendment rights case. Basically, if there's property that's been involved in a criminal activity, they can come in and seize it. They seize things like cars, houses, bank accounts, boats, the civil forfeiture.
Giardi. What's his name? What's
forfeiture laws.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is a case. I think it came down when Bush Sr. was in office. I can't remember the name, but it allowed the states to go in and start seizing property.
Hey, Karen.
They get so much money from civil forfeiture.
And they sell it and make a ton of money.
They make a ton of money off of it.
It's free to them.
And that's what they use to,
they have no investment. They just walk in and take the keys and it's ours.
Mm-hmm.
There's been some really nice $80,000, $100,000 dollar cars that have been sold.
Yeah. I think the underlying case was a grandmother whose house was seized because her grandson, unknowingly to her, was
committing a crime.
Possession with intent to deliver. And I think it was like MJ. It wasn't like something really, really bad. And so they came in and seized her house. They just took her house. And she filed a federal claim against it. And the Supreme Court said, well, it was involved in a criminal activity. So yeah, under the Fourth Amendment, they can take it. So she was.
But she could go after him, but.
Yeah, I mean, that's quote unquote the remedy that they give you, but really. And I know there's certain parishes in Louisiana and certain counties in Texas where they get their wrists slapped because they will pull someone over for speeding or, expired tags or whatever, and then they'll use that to seize the vehicle.
What
Yeah,
county
no.
is that?
Somewhere in East Texas, I think it was.
Hopefully I didn't go by there because I just discovered my tags were out. I didn't, they, in November. So Monday, I'm going to go get them done. I've been dealing
Yeah.
with my sister passing and her
Yeah.
all that stuff. And most of my cars have always been
Well, see,
December
this,
or January
Yeah.
tags.
well, see, this is the last year that we have to do that nonsense. Next year, it's just going to be, yeah, we're still going to have to pay the $7, but we don't have to get the car inspected.
Well, I'm fine with that.
That
So
makes
January.
no sense to me. But
Well, I'm
yeah.
going to be traveling to Dallas and I don't want to get a ticket.
Yes, you can renew online. If you're, this is Texas.
Yeah,
If your
yes, you
tags are, if you're, if it's the month before your tags expire, or it's after your tags expired, you can renew online. You just can't have gotten a citation for expired tags.
Well,
Because then
my
you have to go
courthouse
through the
is
court
about
system.
2 minutes away.
Okay.
And I never stand in line, so I'm just going to walk in and take care of it. Introduce yourself again. We have a lot of people who don't know who you are.
Oh no. Yeah, I'm KB. I'm an attorney in Texas, on hiatus. I'm not taking cases right now. I really just have too much on my plate with other stuff going on in my life. And I just no longer have the bandwidth. When I was an attorney, it was a 24/7 thing. I think EDB has touched on this as to why she no longer practices. I mean, I just got to the point where it was literally taking everything out of me. And I ended up in the hospital twice. I almost died twice. I don't want to do that again. I'm going to stay around for a while and do all the traveling that I want to do. So I'm interested. I stay up, I watch YouTube, I watch LawTube, I watch the cases that I'm interested in. If I'm not interested in a particular case, I don't follow it. So if we hit one of those, like the Sarah Boone case, I was out of the country. So I wasn't watching, I didn't have the time or the internet actually to watch live streams of her trial. I mean, I would keep up with it through the different.
I think when you're watch a little bit of it.
Yeah, well, yeah. I was on vacation.
What trial's coming up that you would like to see us cover?
Well, I'm interested to see if the Karen Reed case actually goes again. And the side case with Turtle Boy. Don't know all the cases about that. I know a lot of people don't like him.
Don't know a lot
and maybe
about
they have their reasons. Maybe they don't.
Here's my thing.
But why have they had his stuff for over a year and not looked at it yet?
Yeah.
That is very suspicious to me.
I believe it's a witch hunt, but let me say this.
Well, it's Massachusetts.
Yeah. I think a
I'm
lot of what he has to say.
the witches, by the way. So,
huh?
I'm a descendant from 3 of the Salem witches. So, that's one of my other hobbies is genealogy.
Good. I need to talk to you because I'm trying to get mine. I'm adopted. I know who they are. But anyway,
Yeah.
I've been on ancestry.com and I'm like, I don't know. But anyway, it's back over. I think Turtle Boy has a lot of good things to say and he brings a lot of truth out.
Mm-hmm.
My problem, he is so foul.
Yeah, he is an abrasive.
I can't.
He's abrasive. He's abrasive. Bless you. Bless you. He is an abrasive personality. I'll give him that. But why have they well, actually, I think they did recently. They were ordered to return some of his stuff. They haven't returned all of it, but they've had it for over a year. What's their excuse? Why haven't they searched it yet? They had the search warrant. Why didn't they execute it? So it's like, come on.
Well, So I would love to be able to interpret his
Mhm.
stuff, but because of the language,
Mhm.
it's too much.
Yeah.
But so when you get back from your trip, I would love for us to come back on.
Okay.
I would love to continue this theme, but I also would like, because I've not really paid a lot of attention to the Turtle Boy as
Mhm.
much as I had Karen. I didn't
Yeah,
have the
I
bandwidth.
kind of like watch stuff from here every now and then, like on Melanie Little. She'll do because she's real good with Mark Betterow. She's in tight with Betterow, and he's now one of his attorneys. So she shows those hearings, and she shows them live when they happen. So I kind of watch here and there. I know there's a lot of drama going out, like the outer circle of that particular case, and it intersects somehow
I am
with
your
the Karen
fan.
Reed case. So
What about that other girl? There's an old case that they
Mhm.
rued a self unaliving and they
Oh,
reopened
that
them.
Sarah
That one
Birchmore.
I want to go for.
That, yes. Well, thank goodness. Because it basically, I think that particular case, the state's expert, or the Commonwealth, excuse me, it's Commonwealth of Massachusetts. They're not a state, they're Commonwealth. They had their expert get up and say, "Oh, he found all these things on, all this stuff on Karen Reed's phone." And he couldn't find anything on Sarah Birchmore's phone or the gentleman they've accused of this. And yet the federal expert that was hired for the federal investigation has said, yeah, we found like 900 texts. So it's like, does your expert know what he's doing, or doesn't he? So Sandra Birchmore, yes, correct. I had the
Well, for
initials
those of
right.
you who are just joining, I have asked KB, and she
Mhm.
has graciously accepted to kind of be our in-house legal expert kind of person,
Explainer.
explainer. So when we get into the Karen Reed trial, I hope you will hop on with us a lot. But yes, it's kind of the Hatfield McCoy type town, and they are on the wrong side. So
Yeah.
I'm really kind of gearing into the Sandra Birchmore and the Karen Reed. And of course, don't get me wrong, I like Turtle Boy.
Yeah.
I just streaming wise and see, I'm trying to interpret things, and I've gotten permission from some people like Eat Lawn Lumber and Runkle of the Bailey. I can interpret and stream anything I want from them.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm wanting to really make the Karen Reed accessible. We had an interpreter back then. I will be interpreting. So my goal is for us to really bring this out into the community and have closed captioning and all of that stuff, and
Mhm.
have some things for the visually impaired community as well.
Well,
So-
one of the things I do want to say, and we talked about this before.
Corey Richens,
that-
yes, that's another one.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, and the one up in Idaho, the college kids that were all unalived.
Yep.
Can't remember the guy's name offhand. That one looks like it's going to be an interesting one. But when it comes to these cases, can we please get off and stop asking about what the jury is doing, how
Yeah.
the jury is reacting, what question, I mean, if it's one thing if the court is asking the jury for questions like we saw in the Maya case, and they're writing their questions down, and that's fine. But I think where we're getting into we're causing more unintentional harm to these cases is when we go, what did this jury, how many women, how many men, what are they wearing? What are they saying? How are they reacting to this testimony?
Who's writing what?
What, and where are they sitting in? No. Nothing. Yes, I'm just as curious as anybody else. I want to know how the jury's reacting. If you really want to know, get a plane ticket, book a hotel, fly yourself there, and go to court and watch. But I don't think on the live streams, especially, we should be talking about what the jurors are doing, what they're saying, what they're wearing, where they're sitting, because I think that's how 2 jurors got kicked off the Karen Reed case. And we saw in the Maya case, it caused problems for one particular juror. They were actually going after another juror who had been identified as pro-plaintiff. She was actually pro-defense. And so they didn't do anything to her. They didn't file anything on her because she ultimately ended up not getting picked. Because they do that selection for the alternates. She ultimately.
And we've had people, and we have talked about what's the jury doing. We wanted to know what the jury was doing.
They're sitting in the box taking notes. That's what they're doing.
Well, if they're, but at the same
Hopefully
time,
they're not asleep. Okay.
right. At the same time, I have been thinking about that, and so I get it. And you're right. Our focus needs to be on testimony and what's happening in the courtroom. But I will be going for the Simpson case, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise if I can do it. I want to go for a few of the days of that trial and sit in that case.
Have they already set it for trial?
Next year, he should be in trial sometime next year.
Okay, because you had said something like March or April, and I'm like, wow, that's rather fast.
Well, they have some hearings in March and April.
Oh, like the pretrial hearings and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I don't have the full schedule, but whenever they do their things, I wouldn't mind going and participating as a viewer. But I think you're right. I think that
a trip to San Antonio is always
a little bit next year.
Pardon?
Huh?
A trip to San Antonio is always a good thing.
And maybe I can meet you there.
Awesome.
Yeah, maybe we can both go together.
It depends on when, because I have several trips.
Yeah, I know.
I already told you about 2, and that's November. But I also have one in May and one in June.
Oh, aren't you so lucky?
Yeah, after being in the hospital for 3.5 months.
Oh yeah, you deserve it.
I was, and during COVID, and basically staying home and never going anywhere except to go visit my family at Christmas. I'm like, I'm not sitting at home. If I can afford it, I'm booking a trip and I'm going. And that's what
I bless you, and I think that's an awesome thing.
Yeah.
But
I'm very lucky to be able to do that, and I know it.
Yes.
So.
But I will say though that going into being, once again, I'm in school. I'm contemplating law school. I'm contemplating, if not law school, what? And I really want to get in the courtrooms. I really want to see. I really just want to experience. But I think this will be a good trial because it is in my backyard.
Yeah.
And
I will tell you, most court is actually pretty boring.
Oh yeah, I get it.
Most of it. Pretrial hearings, they either get reset or they're heard on Zoom, or that's one of the good things for me personally that I liked about COVID was be able to work from home and do court from home, because the last thing you want to do on Monday morning, on a jury Monday, is have to get up super early so you can get downtown to the courthouse and actually find a parking space.
Parking in San Antonio is the worst nightmare.
Oh, take the bus, take an Uber. I don't care. Just, I
Park
actually
far away and get an Uber.
Yeah. It used to be in Bexar County that if you had a jury summons, you could get on the bus and show them your jury summons and you didn't have to pay. I don't know if that's still the case. When I was in law school, I got called for jury duty, and that's what I did.
I've never been called.
I actually got called for a grand jury.
I want to be.
It was so interesting. Like,
I
from
want to be on the grand jury.
I thought for sure the judge was going to say, yeah, you're an attorney. Bye. And she was like, no, you're going to, this man is going to be the head grand juror. You're going to be the alternate. I'm like, oh, great. Thanks, judge. But they treated me they treated all of us very nicely. They had reserved spaces for us whenever we met on Tuesday mornings, and they reserved, oh, sorry.
Ooh.
Harry doesn't understand that Charlie doesn't want to play. And all Harry wants to do is play. But on our Tuesday mornings, we met once a week, and they saved parking spots for us on the top level, so we didn't have to pay for parking. They brought us breakfast. If we stayed for lunch, they brought us lunch, which is why I am so shocked, especially in the Maya case, that they didn't pay for the jurors' lunch. Like, what? Are you kidding me?
I
You're
didn't know
making
that.
these people sit there for months, bored out of their minds, and they have to pay for parking. They're not, unless they work for a company that will still pay them while they're on jury service, they're not getting, if they're hourly employees, they're not getting paid. And you're not paying for their snacks. You're not buying coffee. You're not paying for lunch. You can't go to Subway and get a tray or
I'm disabled. I need an accommodation. I got low blood sugar. I got to have coffee at 12.
That's why I really like my county. We've got coffee, donuts, and taquitos in the morning. And if we're there at lunch, they bring, like, hey, we're going to be ordering sandwiches.
Wait. What do you mean? Am I going to be on RA tomorrow? What about RA tomorrow?
He's doing his Festivus celebration.
I'm doing a Festivus tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, Ronnie, we can never predict a verdict. When you are rolling the dice, if you go to the jury, and I would have to explain this to my clients.
I may hop in
many times.
So
roll of the dice.
I got a gold Festivus pole. And I got a bunch of these things. So when you guys give me a complaint, I'm going to stick it on the pole and fill the pole. So it's broken back. I think we all are. I think it's bad when we're so desperate for something to do. We're doing a broken Festivus fight.
Well, really, nothing's going to, unless something earth-shattering happens between now and New Year's. Most courts are off, and I actually like this part of the year because closed. The office is closed. I have friends who are in private practice. They shut down for the week of Thanksgiving, and they shut down between Christmas and New Year's. They give everybody a break because by this point of the year we need it. Oh my God!
And they, between the middle of summer all the way to that point, it's like,
yeah.
I might hop on and say hello to him if he'll have me. But I'm going to be doing a Festivus. It's already posted, so y'all can come join me. As long as it's not political, I'll listen to your complaint. You can tell me you had an ingrown for 10 months and I'll put it on there.
I've had enough people. No, just kidding.
I can't stand these idiots that drive these dang pickups that have 6 lights on the front. You're only supposed to have brights and highs and lows, and then they have that light trim, and then they have 2 more lights, and it's like blinding to where I can't even see where I'm turning.
Well, the ones that, you need a ladder to get into, I have an issue with those.
And you got an 80-year-old man here in Texas that has one of those, and he hooks a 5-step ladder just to reach the step of the truck. Widowman syndrome.
They're compensating for something.
Yeah, I wonder what it is.
But yeah, no, I actually got appointed to a grand jury panel. That was several years ago, and that was very interesting to see it from an attorney perspective, being on the grand jury. Basically, the DA walks in and says, "Here, we think this guy's guilty. Yes or no?" And they fought me on one case because I was like, the guy was probably guilty of something, but what they were charging him with, they couldn't connect him to the actual thing because he wasn't the one seen when the thing happened. He just happened to be in the car that they pulled over. I'm like, well, you can't connect him to this first thing, and sure, yeah, we'll say there's enough evidence to proceed to trial, but until there's that
A connection.
we're not. No. They probably brought it back up the next grand jury cycle and got it indicted. And then I was on another. I was called to jury duty in the county court, and it was a DUI case. And they had us all sitting there, waiting, in the courtroom, twiddling our thumbs, waiting for voir dire. And the second the state came out, and then the public defender and their client came out, I saw the look on the guy's face, and I leaned over to somebody and said, he's going to take the plea. Watch. And sure enough, before we even got started, I mean, the judge ran through the introductions and everything. Do you know this person? Do you know that person? Whatever. They asked for a short recess, and then they went into the hallway and talked for about 45 minutes. And
When you know that when they're doing that long, you know what's happening.
Something's happening. Yeah, something's going on. And so another friend of mine who was also an attorney was on the panel. And I'm like, they didn't strike us. Usually you're like, do you know anybody on this panel? And we're like, we know each other. Yeah. Strike us.
We
please.
work for each other.
And they're like, nope, we didn't get struck. We didn't get stricken for that. But I tapped my friend on the shoulder, and I'm like, this is 45 minutes. I think he's going to take the plea. And he's like, yeah, I think you are too. I think he is too. And then somebody else said, well, we had to do all this for nothing. And I said, no, we did our job, because this guy was fighting it all the way until he saw actual people sitting in the we were still in the audience. We weren't in the juror box yet, because that's only the jurors sit in
It
the
became
juror box.
real when there were human beings.
It was, yeah, it's like, oh, you mean there's actually going to be 6 people deciding if I did this or not, and they can give me more than what the DA is offering. And I said, we've done our job. We did our job. This guy did it, and he was going to fight it until he actually saw the jury and had a come to Jesus meeting with himself. And now so we did our job. So don't think you didn't. So, I mean, if you're ever on a panel and that happens, don't think you didn't do anything. You wasted all your time for nothing. You actually did something.
Amerifan, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you.
I need to get going.
Yeah, we do too. But thank you. They want to know, do you have your own channel?
I do. There's only, well, actually, I have 2 different ones. But if you go to KBF, it shows. The only videos that I have up right now are from 2007, 2008, and I think maybe 2009. That's basically slideshows of when I walked the Camino Frances in Spain. And then I have another one. They're on 2 different channels. I have another one, which is my cat Charlie having a fight with her tail.
Okay. Do you know that there's a KBF for knitting or crocheting?
That's not me. Mm-mm.
No, that's not you.
Not me. It's KB Fits. Let me check.
F what?
KB Fits. Let me look at YouTube and see how I'm logged in there.
Spell it, because of my deafness. I'm struggling.
Oh, it's like my email.
But the F word.
FITZ.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Let me see. Yeah, it's KBF6434. View channel. Oh yeah, on that one, that's just my video of Charlie.
There's a KB Fits, but it's somebody else.
Let me see.
It's a color.
Well, I have
woman.
2 different ones. I do not know how I managed to. There's Kelly on the Camino Frances, and that one. Let me go to my channel, and that's the one that has my videos of the of my photos from when I was walking. I was a pilgrim. It's a pilgrimage trail. Traditionally, it starts in France. It's about 500 miles, and you walk that entire length all the way to Santiago de Compostela in Spain. And if you walk for a spiritual reason, they give you a Compostela, which the Catholic Church, I'm not Catholic, but I walked for a spiritual reason, which is basically a get out of purgatory free card. And it's become more and more and more popular since I walked it back in 2000. I think the last time I was on the Camino was 2009. I've had a lot of friends go since then. There's actually one called a group called I Will Push You, and they take people who are in wheelchairs and can't otherwise do a Camino. They take them and they take them through the last 100 kilometers, which is the minimum that you have to cover in order to get your Compostela in Santiago. And you get to sit in on the the Pilgrim's Mass once you reach there. And they have this big butafumeiro that weighs 100. I mean, it's this huge, heavy thing. And when they swing it, it's serious business. It's amazing to watch. It's a really nice thing to do for yourself. I learned on that Camino, the Caminos that I walked, that I'm a lot stronger spiritually, mentally, and physically than I ever thought that I was. So if that's something, no, because well, they mean pushing people in wheelchairs.
In the wheelchairs. Can you please type your channel in the chat? Copy and paste the link.
Oh, hang on. Let me turn my mouse back on.
That's funny.
Join the
I
chat.
love the 80s music, man. He's got a sense of humor.
Okay. I'm going to connect them. Well, I'm going to post first as Kelly on Camino Frances, and then I'll post on the other one. God knows I have no idea. Just stop asking me these things.
I know. I hate it when that happens.
I'm going to post first as one and then as the other. Okay. I have no idea how two different channels got created. Don't know. Let me shoot. Okay, remove. You want to move your account and leave the live chat? Yes. Okay. Now let me join on the other one. This one. That one. Okay. Continue. I think I'm going to stay logged in on this one because this is the one. This is the channel that I use the most. Okay, so that's my second channel. That's the one that has my cat video. Oh my gosh, she's about 15 years old now. But when I got her, she was a teeny tiny little kitten. And I had bigger cats then. And one day I kept hearing her growl. I thought there was a fight. And I was like, everybody leave the baby alone. And I walked into the room and all the other cats were in the living room. And they were like, what are you looking at us for? I went to go find the kitten because she was still making noise. She was fighting with her tail. And she did this for several months. She hasn't done it in a really long time. But she would do this all the time when she was a baby, and it just cracked me up. And I finally caught her with my phone so I could record her. And so that's what you got. But that's all I've done so far. I have some ideas on a channel that I want to start. Not necessarily LawTube. Not ruling it out, but it seems like there's a lot of those channels. I do want to do one about travel and accessible travel because I do travel with a wheelchair. I need a wheelchair for long distance, walking and standing and so forth. So, and a lot of people are in the same boat. We're ambulatory. We can walk around. We can take care of ourselves in the house. But if I go on a trip, go to the airport or something, I need a wheelchair or a scooter or something.
Like today,
So-
I just got my new wheelchair a couple of weeks ago, and I used it today, and I wish I was using it now. My back is really, my my hips and lower back are really bad.
Yeah.
And so, but I love my new wheelchair. The only thing is the cushion is thicker because it's an air cushion.
Ooh.
So my reach on my wheels are a little longer. I'm used to them being a little higher. So when
Yeah.
I'm pushing off, it's different. So
Well,
I'm making some adjustments.
I was,
Hold on.
I
hold
was
on.
lucky I got a,
So hold on. Sneaky, we love you. Thank you for joining us tonight. I hope to see you real soon. Sorry.
no, that's okay. I have a motorized one, made by a Texas company, all terrain, all weather. Last year I went to Dublin and I rented a scooter from Dublin, and they delivered it to the hotel. And when I was done with it, they took it back. The thing with a scooter is you can't operate it in the rain, and it rained, so I was basically stuck in
It
the
rains a
hotel.
lot over there.
Yeah, but it rained every day, like all day, every day, except for one day I was able to go to the museum that was right next door to my hotel. And I was able to use the scooter then. But for some of the other stuff I wanted to do, I wasn't. So I started looking for an all-terrain, all-weather type wheelchair that was motorized. And I found one made by a Texas company. The woman who designed it is disabled herself. And she designed it so that you can theoretically handle this chair by yourself if you're a disabled person. In practice, you really need it is 60 pounds. So you are going to need some help, if you have to put it up in a car or, underneath a bus or something. And it folds to about the size of a large suitcase. So I can take it with me on airplanes. I've taken it to Argentina.
I'm jealous. I am so jealous.
Taken it to England. I've taken it to.
I want to see it.
How
come?
It's over there
Okay.
in the dark.
I'm getting to the point right now that
you want me to name the company? Because I don't know how you. Because I don't know.
Put it in the link. Put it in the link. Here's the thing for me. I'm getting to I love my Toyota Venza. The wheelchair I have now fits perfectly in the back.
Yeah.
I'm at the point that and it sucks because I cannot afford a minivan. I cannot afford a van to be outfitted.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, my insurance will not cover a motorized chair because I'm so able-bodied here.
Well, and a lot of these wheelchair companies do not work with insurance because once you get the insurance involved,
Medicare, Medicaid,
that raises the cost significantly. Just having to do all the bureaucusy.
Yeah,
this
but the problem is
not
you get people
cheap.
like me who can't afford it any other way.
I understand, and for me this was a big purchase. It was $2,800. They do offer apparently payment plans or people who no longer need them or they've passed away and the families give them back to sell them back somehow to Fold and Go, and they turn around and give out used ones.
I wonder if they would be sponsors because what I talked about doing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because of the other idea that you have. Yeah. So I kind of want to do a channel with involving accessible travel. I told you I found that travel agency through several of the groups that I've been in on Facebook regarding accessible travel. And so now I'm going to be able to go to Greece and I'm going to be able to see things I didn't think I would be able to see because I thought they were inaccessible to someone who has to use a wheelchair to get around. I can do stairs somewhat but I'm a fall risk, and I really don't want to be falling. The last time I did, I broke 3 ribs. No, thank you. That's
Yeah.
not fun.
Been there, done that.
I don't want to be in the hospital again. So
Overseas.
yeah, rather stay in my apartment, in my condo, right? So they offer an accessible tour, and it's going to Athens. We get to go to the Parthenon, which I thought there's no way that can. I mean, and I understand why some of these things can't be made accessible. I understand that, but we can actually go instead of just being able to see. We're going to be going to Olympia, where the original Olympic Stadium is. We're going to be going to Epidaurus and see the theater at Epidaurus. And I was a theater major. I do some community work, community theater work. I haven't done it in a while, but that place, along with the Globe Theater in London, those are considered sacred spaces. If you're in theater, if you're a drama person, if you're an actor, stage crew, director, producer, those are sacred spaces. It's really nice to be able to go and see this place. I had a friend who's a director, actor director. He went to Epidaurus about 2 years ago, and he said being able to get into the stage space, which is on the ground, their theaters are inverse to what ours are. So you have the audience surrounding, looking down. He said getting up there and being able to recite my first lines from Oedipus was a trip. And I'm like, I did Oedipus Rex. I played I didn't play Oedipus. I played some other parts. So I'm going to have to go back and relearn some of my lines so I can say them when I get there. So that's going to be really exciting. It's the same thing when we went to the Globe Theater. We didn't actually get to go on stage, but we were where the groundlings were. And so any of us who could remember whatever Shakespeare we've ever said, we started spouting it off, except we did not recite from the Scottish play. I don't play with that. I was in that play. Whatever they say about it, yes, it's true. Don't say it. Don't type it. Don't think it. Nothing. Because stuff will happen. We'll
talk about that later.
Seen it. Yeah. The Scottish play. That's the one I'm talking about. Romeo and Juliet, Merchant of Venice, whatever. You don't know, not that one. But yeah, he said it was the same experience as when we went to the Globe and we were all saying our lines in the Globe Theater, even though it's a reconstruction and it's several blocks away from where the original was.
Maybe you and I should partner up
and see, get something going that way, because there is a market for it there. And it's one of my when I go on cruises, it's one of my frustrations with the cruise companies. It's like, yes, they will offer you something called an accessible tour, but basically what it is a get on a bus and we'll drive you to some place and you can see it through the window, and then we'll drive you somewhere else and you can look at it through the window. We'll go somewhere else and you can look at. I mean, it's like a
hands-on, baby. I want to be like everybody else. That's not accessible.
And
that's being tolerated.
Yeah. Well, some places, these ancient ruins, I understand why they can't. I mean, there's no way they're going to be able to put an elevator in something like that, and like the Parthenon. No way.
True.
They can't.
However,
they would.
You can get off the bus and go to the outside of it.
Yeah, they can make the outside spaces. Yeah, they can make the outside spaces. And I've seen people actually traveling in Egypt on accessible tours. They're at the Great Pyramids. I've been to the Great Pyramids. I don't know how they've made those accessible, but they have. And, Egypt is not a wealthy country. It's a very poor country. So the fact that they are investing in that says a lot to me about, they do get a lot of their GDP is from tourism, but they've recognized that accessible touring is a growing segment of the travel industry. So they need to start addressing it. Now, obviously, in a wheelchair, I'm never going to be able to go down into the pyramids or up into whichever direction you're going, which is fine with me because I'm claustrophobic. I wouldn't want to do that anyway. And I don't think there's really much to see in there. Just seeing the Sphinx and the pyramids themselves is amazing. And you see them from the highway. Like, like you're driving in San Antonio, you know how you see the Tower of the Americas?
Not no more. They're knocking it down.
No, really?
They're tearing all that down.
Really? I thought they'd keep that up. I know they were taking down some of the other stuff.
It's been bought and it's going to come down.
Oh no!
I know.
That's like it's the same as the
Sacrilege.
Space Needle in Seattle.
Yeah.
It was built for the same reason, the World's Fair.
Yep.
I remember going there. I was like, what, 5 or 6?
The first time I went there,
little.
I went on a date and we parked in the garage at the base of it. And I
Uh-huh.
got out of the car. I was probably 17, 18. And a
Uh-huh.
guy was peeing on the pillar. That was my first experience. I've been up there a couple of times and had dinner, but that
Yeah,
was my first
I've done the
experience.
dinner thing, and you go right at the sunset when the lights come on, and the restaurant is spinning around, and yeah,
It's
I've
very
done-
slow, so people don't get sick. Where I really want to go is Ireland. I'm
Ireland's
Irish.
Nice. Ireland is nice.
Yeah,
I've been there,
yeah.
and I've
Mhm.
also been there on cruises. So I've been to Cove, which is outside of Cork. It was the last port of the Titanic. It was the last, people got on, people got off. And they have a little museum there, and people were complaining because they don't tell the whole story. No, it says at the very beginning, they're very explicit. This is the Titanic story from what happened here in Cove, what happened here. And they give you a little card, and it has the name of a passenger who got on the Titanic at that particular port. I got the name of a woman who was in 3rd class, and I'm like, oh, I'm all right. Yeah, I already know where the odds are. I'm not liking this. And wouldn't you know, she not only survived, she survived the experience. She died in 1961 on April 14th, or whatever day it was that the Titanic sank. That's when she passed away in 1961.
Well, the interesting thing is we went to Tennessee where the museum is.
Uh-huh.
And
Well, there's also a museum in Belfast.
I got
Where it
what's
was
her
built.
name? That big boisterous woman.
Molly Brown,
What's her name? Played her. She's a big woman, loud woman, rich
Unsinkable
woman.
Molly, the Unsinkable Molly Brown.
That's
She
it.
was
That's
played
who I
by,
got.
oh my God,
Bates,
She-
Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen the new Matlock with Kathy
No,
Bates in it,
I do want to see that. I'll get to it eventually. I'm running through
Love
Friends
it.
right now. Friends is my emotional support background noise.
but I love the twist because you don't see some of this stuff coming and it's like, wow, good writing.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, I could listen to you talk forever. You were
Yeah,
so
I'm- I don't wanna
phenomenal.
bore
I
people's,
have been up
voices
since
to
6
death.
a.m., been on the road all day.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, we're geared festive day, and I've got a pole. It's gold. You know me and my glitz. And how long will you be gone if you're okay saying?
I will be gone all week.
Okay, we'll be praying for
on
safe
Sunday.
travels.
Thank
Be
you.
definitely keeping you in mind and hearts in prayer for safe travels. Please connect with me when you return.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, you got my number. Send me a text. I mean,
You too.
I have that I've had that unlimited plan. You know how I ended up on the unlimited plan? Because the first month that I was doing the FLDS case, my bill would have been like $500. And so the company called and said, there's been a lot of activity on your account. Do you want to switch over to this and we'll just forgive the $500? I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, please. So I have been on that $100 unlimited everything plan since 2008. And I've changed phones and the companies merged and whatever. I'm now paying $137. And I think that's
Are you T-Mobile?
No, yes.
We had Sprint, and I
Uh-huh.
was on the unlimited. Turned
Mhm.
into T-Mobile. They
Mhm.
started when you hit so many whatever, they slowed you down on
Mhm.
data over here, and then
I
our
haven't-
coverage areas started shrinking here.
Oh no, that stinks.
Yes,
I
and
have
then
not
our
experienced
bills
that.
started going up
Yeah.
because they said you were only protected for 1 year after we took over that account. So
I don't
all the
I
Sprint
must
towers were
be
being
getting
taken down. All the
I'm-
Sprint out there, a lot of them, they had contracts with other companies.
Yeah.
A lot of them around here were Verizon or AT&T. They stopped a lot of the tower coverages, and so only the
no.
ones owned by T-Mobile.
would work.
And we're like,
oh, that stinks. I am really sorry that
left.
happened to you. It's either that or I'm a dummy and I keep hitting buttons wrong. Because the same thing happened with my car. I was telling you about that too. I had this minor issue and I thought, what should I take it in? Well, it's still under warranty. Might as well. I got it over there. It turns out not only was this thing sort of on the fritz, they replaced it, but there were two things involving my suspension that were getting ready to break. So they replaced those. My car goes out of the warranty expires on the 31st of this month. And I looked at what the bill would have been compared to what I paid. And I was like, don't ask me. I don't know how it happened. I don't know
Well,
that's a
yeah.
superpower or
Well,
I don't
and
know.
the thing is that now that with my hearing, I can't hear without hearing aids. My
Yeah.
hearing aids Bluetooth, and so they just had a lot of problems. So I'm happy with who we are with now. I'm also, because I'm a first responder, I'm on, what's it called? FirstNet?
Uh-huh.
FirstNet. So when, like if you're in San Antonio at Six Flags and that area is over inundated with service and the towers are struggling, everybody's servers slow down, right? Your internet and all that slows down.
Yeah.
I get priority. No matter where I
That's
go in the
great.
world, no matter where I go in the world,
Yeah.
I get priority because I'm a first responder.
That's good.
No, you're not, KFB. You're not. They're still on.
Well, I
Some
mean,
of them
I
are
just-
still awake
I
at
feel
4
like-
a.m.
I know. It's like I've been saying, yeah, I need to go. And an hour later, we're still here.
Well, that's a good thing.
Oops.
That's a good thing. You are now a part of the Ada K family. You
Cool.
are welcome to hop on anytime. Just say, hey, I want to hop on. I got to tell you, you wrong, Ada. That's not
I
how the
got some
cow ate the
dirt.
cabbage. Huh?
I got some dirt. I got some cheese.
Yeah, give me the tea.
Yeah,
But
I got some tea to
One
spill.
of my goals was to have people who were focused on this channel who would be willing to be kind of like an expert witness on my channel. So, because I want somebody that I can contact and say, hey, we need some understanding and clarification here.
Yeah.
Now, what people, and I'm going to end with this, not every lawyer knows about every kind of law, like not every doctor knows about every type of practice. An internist is not an obstetrician. So you can't ask an internist to be an obstetrician. So family law is different from criminal, which is different from all the other different kinds of law that there is. So there are sometimes it may be out of her wheelhouse, but do you know what? I trust her to find the answer. Tell us, yeah, you know.
Oh, well, yeah. Like my primary practice area when I was practicing was family law. I did CPS cases. I had
Probate.
some probate. I had some criminal law. I did misdemeanors. I never got enough experience to do the felonies, and I was fine with that. I didn't want to do felonies. Misdemeanors are fairly easy to knock out. And then some of the CPS cases that I had 2 cases that involved child abuse physicians. And whenever there's a CPS case and they say the child abuse physician found, I give those cases a huge side eye because, yes, I realize it does happen. Children do need to be removed for many reasons. But in a lot of these cases involving those kinds of physicians, as we saw in the Maya case, the children should not have been removed. The child should not have been removed. There was a lot of improper conduct going on. And that's why the jury came back with the decision that it did.
And a woman lost her life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See, when that case started, I was like, because I had seen there was a Netflix documentary that had come out.
I waited to watch it.
Don't worry about bugging me. But there had been a Netflix document coming out, and I watched it, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, there were some major malfunctioning. I'm not going to say malpractice, but there were a lot of improper things that happened in that case. And I'm like, I can understand why they filed suit. I don't think they're going to be able to recover anything. And that's just me looking at it as a lawyer. That's not me saying they don't deserve any money.
From what I understand, I think they will be able to recover something.
Oh, they're going to get something. I mean, but the way I've seen these cases play out, like total sympathy for the Kowalski family. What they endured never, ever should have happened.
And there are other families who've endured it.
And other family that have since been uncovered with this one particular doctor. And then there's the case in Georgia, and I don't know those people's names, with another of these doctors. I have a friend of mine here in Texas who's handled, I can't remember his clients' names, and I can't remember his name, but I do know there was a 5-part NBC series done on the particular issue with these physicians, and it dealt with his client. And if you do some creative Googling, you might be able to find it, but I know it was shown on NBC, and it was a station, I think out of Houston, that did it, but it ran nationwide on the NBC. I think it was NBC Nightly News. It was a five-night investigation, 5-night series of this investigation. These physicians do more harm than good. And then a friend of mine personally had this happen. Their child had brittle bone disease, where for some reason their bodies aren't processing vitamin D, and you have to give them like mega doses of vitamin D.
IV level doses. Yeah.
Oh, it's huge. And a bone can break even if you're being as gentle as possible, like changing a diaper or picking them up or putting them in their car seat or what.
They can break a bone rolling over in their own bed in the middle of the night.
I had 2 of those cases personally. My friend of mine, this happened to him personally, and he had to quickly separate from his wife so that they didn't take all of the kids, and they basically got up there on the stand and lied about what was going on. And in the end, they got of course, there were nothing was supported. They had to close the case out as nothing found. But to this day, his goal in CPS court is to make the caseworkers cry. And I've seen him do it. And I know why he does it. And it's like, deserve that, deserve that, deserve that. They have a hard job. I understand. Very hard job. Very difficult. They see things nobody else wants to see. But when they're
overworked,
underpaid, and when they go wrong, they
really
have it
wrong.
in their heads that they are immune, they are invincible, and the judge will do whatever they say and believe whatever they say. And there are a lot of parents who've lost custody of their children and also thrown in jail for stuff they didn't do because everyone believed the CPS caseworker. I'm not saying don't believe them. I'm not saying they do this in every single case. You've really got to look. When you've got their doctor saying one thing and other doctors who actually, the treating physician, like the treating physicians, are telling you something else, who should you put more
The
weight?
treating physician.
The treating physician should always get weight. Now, in the Maya Kowalski case, could you say, well, that doctor was committing malpractice? Okay, let's take care of it through the medical malpractice route. We don't take kids away from parents who are following their doctor's instructions.
But see,
If you don't agree with the
the
instructions,
nurses, but wait a minute. The
not
nurses
their
are the
problem.
one that started the crap
oh yeah,
in this case because
yeah.
they weren't properly reporting to some of the doctors, and they're the ones that fired the alarm, not the doctor itself.
Well, yeah, and then they went back and because there were 2 calls to CPS on that particular case. The
Mhm.
first one they said no, and then they went back to the doctor and said, "Well, what do we need to say?" And she told them
Mhm.
what to say, and then they made another call. That never should have happened. You disagree with if you're a nurse and you disagree with what the doctor's saying, you go, I don't know, report them to the state, report them to the hospital board. I mean,
You can report a doctor to CPS, by the way.
yeah, or yeah, CPS. You know, don't traumatize a family for doing what they think that, the doctor told me this, that's what I'm going to do. That's not abuse. Do we want to start throwing parents in jail because they followed what the doctor told them to do? If the doctor was committing malpractice, they don't know medicine. Parents don't. Unless they're doctors themselves, they don't have that background. I know. But anyway, I'm off on a tangent. But that's
No,
how.
you're right.
That's
You're right,
another-
100%.
That's another way that
And
I touch on the Maya Kowalski case. But appellate issues, I don't know. I don't know appellate issues. I never did. I didn't do appellate work, so
It's okay.
yeah.
Well, love, don't go away. We're going to say goodbye together. And we're
Okay.
got to pick your brain on something real quick. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We greatly, greatly appreciate you. We hope and pray that you have a blessed evening. Please come back and join us tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be doing festives, whatever day, where we get to complain all day. No, we're going to have fun. I don't know what all we're going to do, but we're going to do something. But in the meantime, you have a safe journey, KB. We look forward to having you back again. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. I hope you have an awesome day. Till next time, take care.